Warcraft Invasion of Marvel. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 451 Energy Weapons, Part 2. With a sweep of his spiritual power, the whole world was in Lao Wang's eyes. He saw companies related to clean energy, busy office workers, reduced exhaust emissions, purified air, and cleaner water. The smog in China's capital was getting less and less, and desertification in the West was under effective control. Of course, it had not completely disappeared, but it was impossible in such a short time, and there was no need for it. How to make concrete and build houses. He also heard voices one after another. The share price of Azeroth Group has risen again. We should have spent all our money to buy shares, then we would have made a fortune. I heard that the country is about to introduce a policy that new energy sources will be cheaper than gasoline and natural gas. In the future, not only cars, but also gas stoves will disappear. My aunt's nephew's grandson's grandfather's classmate's colleague's neighbor passed the interview of Azeroth Group and will start working tomorrow. I heard that the monthly salary is tens of thousands. I'm so envious. This world is becoming more and more incomprehensible. Adam's voice also sounded at the same time. Sir, clean energy is gradually replacing mineral energy. Time passed by minute, and all the changes in the world in the past 2 months appeared in Lao Wang's mind. This is an era of rapid change. New technologies are born every day, and each technology has the potential to change the world. What's more, 2 months have passed. Lao Wang never underestimates the power of capital, especially after he has mastered the world's largest capital. What exactly does unlimited energy represent, and what kind of changes will it bring to the whole world? Lao Wang doesn't need to say much about this. Anyone with a qualified IQ can figure it out, not to mention those politicians who are already very smart. Negotiations with various countries are naturally conducted by the senior management of Azeroth Group. Adam collected information about everyone in the world, and on the premise of ensuring absolute safety and no leakage, he used it to help those politicians recognize the reality in themselves, thereby contributing to promoting global development and civilization progress. This is a great thing. Under the dual effects of absolute force and powerful capital, the promotion of unlimited energy is faster than expected. After only 1 month, policies in various fields have been released, and the whole world has entered the era of new energy. In the following time, the original energy system will be completely replaced. Mineral energy is gradually becoming history, and more efficient, safer and cheaper clean energy will enter thousands of households. With the full support of Stark Industries and the efforts and cooperation of various governments, Azeroth Group has acquired hundreds of companies, established new energy companies, and started mass production of energy batteries, which are connected to existing cars, airplanes and electrical appliances through special equipment. Of course, a large part of it cannot be directly replaced, and mineral energy will continue to run in parallel with new energy for a while. But if nothing unexpected happens, at most 5 years, more than half of the world's energy market will be replaced by clean energy. 10 years later, mineral energy will be completely outdated. Companies around the world are starting to develop matching products around clean energy and energy batteries. This is an era of change. Those who can keep up with the times and grasp the pulse of the times will inevitably rise in the tide of change, while those who are a step slower will only be led by others and become the laggards of the times. New energy companies are now in a pure investment stage. Hundreds of billions of funds have been spent, but they can't even make much waves. Most of the funds for building factories and producing energy batteries are shared by governments and major funds, consortiums, and companies. They make money together. Lao Wang is not stupid enough to hold such an important thing in his own hands. He doesn't want to offend the whole world. But no matter what, the most profitable is always the new energy company. The cosmic energy output by the space gem is completely monopolized by the Azeroth Group, but there is more than one new energy. The output power of the space gem is limited. A large part of it is used by Lao Wang himself, and it is also used to power the Shengun and the Chitauri fleet. Only a very small part can be sold. There are many kinds of new energy. At present, the most promising and developed one is controlled nuclear fusion. The technological level of the Earth in the Marvel world is much higher than that of the Earth in Lao Wang's previous life. Many countries have mastered the technology of controlled nuclear fusion, but it is not mature enough and has not yet reached the stage of large-scale use. So far, there are only a few companies in the world that have mastered commercial controlled nuclear fusion technology, and the most successful ones are Azeroth Group and Stark Industries. The two companies have joined forces to mass-produce controlled nuclear fusion reactors as a supplement to energy batteries. The emergence of clean energy has reduced air pollution and water pollution from the root, and Lao Wang, who is the leader of all this, and the only one who has established a stable connection with the Earth, has naturally received feedback from the Earth and his cultivation has steadily improved. With the support of new energy, governments of various countries have begun to produce energy weapons. Of course, this kind of weapon is destined to not be popularized in a short period of time, because they do not have enough energy supply. It stands to reason that it is impossible for a surface civilization that has not even left the planet to develop energy weapons on a large scale, because the energy of the planet itself cannot support this level of consumption. An energy cannon may cost tens of millions or even hundreds of millions of dollars. Only those level 2 civilizations that have left the planet and can extract stellar energy at close range can truly popularize energy weapons and gradually develop sublight speed and super light speed engines and officially enter the interstellar era. The emergence of the space gem has made the Earth's technology tree deformed. A normal technology tree should be flourishing and fully developed, but the Earth's technology tree has a few thick and strong branches, while most of the branches are still very small. They absorb most of the nutrients and participate in the competition of advanced civilizations in the universe in advance. I don't know whether it is lucky or unfortunate. Energy weapons require too much energy, so even Stark Industries can't afford it. The Iron Man suit with the arc reactor as the energy core has only a few energy weapons such as the chest arc pulse cannon, and they are low power types. Even so, one shot can consume more than half of the energy, and it cannot be used continuously. The Azeroth Group, which has mastered the space gem, has become the only force that can develop energy weapons on a large scale, not to mention that it also includes almost 1/5 of the world's top scientists. Interstellar war is essentially a war of energy. Whoever has a larger and more efficient energy source is more likely to win. The new generation of space motherships, interstellar spacecraft, and steel soldiers will gradually reduce conventional weapons and replace them with more powerful energy weapons, which will also be the standard for future fighters of the Schengen Bureau. The interstellar team of the Kree Empire is the direction of the Schengen Bureau's efforts. Of course, this will take a long time, maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years, or maybe 100 years. Adam, what stage have we reached in the research and development of energy weapons? As soon as Lao Wang finished speaking, he heard Adam's answer. Sir, the research and development of energy weapons is the responsibility of Dun Huang. Scientists have consulted the newly built database of the Kree people and the database of the Chitauri spacecraft, and combined with the research results of SHIELD and Hydra on energy weapons. So far, 32 energy weapons with different performance and positioning have been developed, including Lao Wang's mental power swept over one energy weapon after another. These energy weapons, as Adam said, really cover all aspects needed for war. Among them are small energy weapons equipped for individual combat equipment. The main module is only the size of a matchbox, and the energy rays it can emit are 10 times more powerful than the most powerful sniper rifle in the world. There are also energy cannons specially developed for starships. One shot can destroy the monthly supply of everyone on the entire Earth. Of course, the power is not ordinary strong. Even if Thanos or Captain Marvel are hit by a shot, they probably won't feel too good, and they may be seriously injured. With these energy weapons, the overall strength of the space fleet will also increase a lot. If the Chitauri, or even Thanos himself, lead the invasion, there is probably nothing to be afraid of, and they can confront it head on. The research and development of infinite energy has come to an end, and Fitz and others have turned to research on human experiments, and the research on super soldier serum and extremis virus has finally made a key breakthrough. Sir, the latest news from Dunhuang. Mr. Tony Stark took the initiative to ask to participate in the first human experiment. Chapter 452 Super Soldier Serum, Desperate Situation, Part 3. Biochemical Laboratory, Super Soldier Project Research Group. Simmons and Tony looked at the virtual experiment videos and various parameters that kept appearing on the screen, and they both breathed a sigh of relief. The 376th experiment. Perfect. Tony took off his glasses, walked to the experimental table and lay down, then looked up at Simmons and said, "Next is the first human experiment. Whether I can survive depends on you, Dr. Simmons. I haven't had children with Pepper yet, so don't let me die. I have written the will about the division of property, and Jarvis knows where it is. If I really die, all my shares will be transferred to Miss Potts, and the cars in the garage will be given to Happy." "Shut up, Tony." Pepper, who came over specially, glared at Tony fiercely, a little worried. "Let me do the first human experiment. I have been injected with the extremis virus, and I'm the best experimental subject. You can't do it, and you are the worst." Tony objected firmly. "How many times have I said it? 10 times or 20 times? The extremis virus you injected is not perfect, and your situation is the most complicated. It can only be solved at the end. You're right to listen to me. In fact, you can recruit volunteers from the Bureau of Divine Justice. I think many people will not miss this opportunity to directly turn ordinary people into superheroes." Simmons also expressed his concerns. "Virtual experiments are virtual experiments after all. No matter how powerful the virtual technology is, there is a gap between it and the real world. As long as there is no real human experiment, there is no guarantee of a 100% success rate. Mr. Stark, you don't have to take risks yourself." "Risk? Have you seen me take risks? Who of you has seen me take risks? I have never taken risks since I was a child." Tony said, "Is there a problem with the formula I calculated?" "Impossible. Dr. Simmons, even if you don't believe in yourself, you should believe in me. 100% success rate." "Dr. Simmons, I think you should go back to elementary school. The elementary school teacher will tell you that nothing is 100%. Of course, maybe the kindergarten teacher has already said it once." "Mr. Stark, you are nervous, otherwise there would be so much nonsense." Simmons helplessly, "Okay, you have the final say. The boss is right. When working with Mr. Stark, it is best to talk less and do more, otherwise this job is completely impossible to do, and every word he says can make you angry to death. Anyway, it is not me who is conducting human experiments. The preparations for the experiment were completed quickly. Now start injecting Super Soldier Serum Extremis. The overall evaluation of this serum is 89 points, second only to Super Soldier Serum Double Dragon. During the injection, human spontaneous combustion may occur. Please do not get excited." A clear and ethereal voice sounded. Fiery red mist filled the entire test bench. Then a fire really broke out. In the flames, in the screams of pain, in the tears of Pepper, a superhero more powerful than before was born. "Well, next we should consider combining the extremis virus with the Iron Man suit. We can consider the bleeding edge technology. How about calling it the extremis armor?" Tony asked as he walked out. Simmons' eyes swept up Tony's body from bottom to top, muttered "really small," and then turned his back. "Obviously not small. He is over 40 years old, and I heard that in some places in China, he has grandchildren." Pepper was helpless. "Tony, I think you should put on your clothes first. Also, can you stop walking around? What's there to shake?" Tony lowered his head quickly. "Spontaneous human combustion generates over 3,000 tons of heat, which can melt most metals, let alone clothes. Just pretend you didn't see it." "You didn't see it, did you? Who saw it?" "Those who didn't see it will get a reward. How about a car, a house, or a car and a house?" Tony looked around, and the researchers all laughed secretly, looking at it however they wanted, without any hesitation. "Who cares about your award? Our salaries are quite high, and we will probably get a large bonus if the experiment succeeds. It will be enough for our next life. We fly to and from get off work, so who wants your car?" "Dunhuang, let's discuss something." Threats and temptations were ineffective. So Tony changed his strategy. Delete this part of the records, especially the video, or I will hack you. Mr. Stark, according to recent data, your success rate in hacking me is no more than 0.01%, while my success rate in hacking Jarvis is no less than 99.99%. According to the 7th subclause of Article 4 of the 3rd regulation of the laboratory records 24 hours a day, and the recorded data is stored in the Dunhuang database. Deletion requires S-level authority. S-level. Tony's face darkened, and he asked hurriedly, how about checking? What authority do you need to check? Unrelated personnel need S-level authority to check, and personnel related to the super soldier program need C-level authority to check. C-level? Those who can join the super soldier program probably have C-level authority. Tony instantly felt that his life was dark. Tony. A hand patted Tony on the shoulder. Lao Wang walked around, looked Tony up and down, and finally stopped at a certain place, with a strange look on his face. Money really has the charm of gods and demons, and women's happiness really has nothing to do with the body. 5 minutes. Tony put on his clothes, and returned to the laboratory, looking serious, as if he had forgotten everything before. After an hour-long physical examination, at least 3 days of analysis and research are required before large-scale production and use can be carried out to solve the problem for Pepper. With the first success, there will be countless times. Pepper has been worried that one day she will spontaneously combust and burn to ashes. Her relationship with Tony developed very quickly, but she really didn't dare to take the last step, because when she got excited, she would be on fire all over, and Tony, who was still an ordinary person, would definitely not be able to bear it. Now it's okay. Tony is also a super soldier. At worst, he can find a place that is not afraid of fire, such as a swimming pool. But a bigger problem is coming. Tony has an Iron Man suit and the super soldier serum extremis, which is much better than himself. I'm afraid his family status in the future is doomed. In addition, will it affect fertility? While Tony was having a physical examination, Pepper hurriedly asked Simmons in a low voice. No, otherwise Fitz and I wouldn't have injected it. Simmons answered seriously, the effect of the super soldier serum is not to change, but to enhance and promote the evolution of human beings themselves. So you are the same species, there is no reproductive isolation, and your children are likely to be born superheroes. But you have to take good care of Mr. Stark. Every tissue in his body is very active. If it stays in a woman's body, no medicine will work. Yeah. Pepper secretly clenched his fist. This must be paid attention to. Otherwise, what if hundreds of women with hundreds of children besiege Stark Tower one day and demand to inherit the family property? Thinking of this, Pepper left in a hurry. Tony is now specialized in research and development, and never cares about the company's affairs. She is in charge of the entire Stark industry. There are endless things to do every day, and there is no time to chat here. Fortunately, I was injected with the extremis virus, and I won't feel tired, even if I don't sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. Otherwise I really can't hold on. In addition, I must greet all parties. If anyone dares to get close to Tony, don't blame me for being rude. You have been conducting joint research on the super soldier serum and the extremis virus? Lao Wang came over and asked, how are other aspects going? Regarding the popularization of the super soldier serum. Chapter 453, Interstellar Fleet and the God Conferring Force, Part 1. This is what Lao Wang cares about most. One super soldier can't change anything, but if all 7 billion people on Earth become super soldiers, it will be enough to change the world. Because by that time, everyone on Earth will have the same physique as the Asgardians, and everyone can be called a god, more powerful than the Kree and the Skrulls. Such an Earth will complete millions of years of evolution in a very short period of time, further shortening the gap with the advanced civilizations in the universe. The super soldier serum shortens the gap in life itself, and infinite energy shortens the gap in energy utilization. I dare not say that I can catch up with or surpass the advanced civilizations in the universe, but at least when facing them, I will not be as helpless as I'm now, and the intelligence is unreliable. Superheroes. Research in that area has been ongoing, mainly led by Dr. Banner, and Mr. Stark and I cooperate. Simmons quickly replied, "The relevant research is simpler than the extremis virus, but there is a lot to do. We have only completed 80% now, and there is still the final work to do." She pressed the button, and files appeared on the screen. Lao Wang browsed them one by one. The popularization of super soldier serum is indeed not difficult. As long as the injection volume is reduced, and the corresponding instruments are used, the negative effects can be minimized, and it is safe, painless and pollution-free. In addition to the previous research documents, there are also promotion documents, drafts, formulated by Dan Huang, Adam, Eve, Sky, the 5 deputy directors of the Schengen Bureau, and various governments. The super soldier serum must of course be promoted globally, but it cannot be in place all at once. Considering various complex issues such as cost and impact, the concentration must be diluted and injected in stages. Everyone can buy it, but there are certain requirements for each stage. The first stage of the civilian version of the super soldier serum, as long as anyone has money, can buy the injection. The price is $100,000. It can significantly improve a person's physical fitness and reach the level of top athletes. Various sports events are expected to be upgraded soon. What 100 meters and 400 meters are meaningless, at least at the marathon level. The second stage of the civilian version of the super soldier serum must pass the special evaluation of the Super Soldier Management Committee. Only those who have made certain contributions to mankind can buy it. The price is $1 million, and the number of people eligible to buy it in the world will not exceed 1%. The third stage of the civilian version of the super soldier serum also needs to pass a special assessment. Only those who have made great contributions to mankind can be injected. The price is $10 million. The number of people in the world who are eligible to buy it will not exceed 1 in 10,000. Other types of super soldier serum can only be purchased by people with special identities, such as very important government officials, soldiers, and agents who join special departments, etc. It is impossible and unscientific to get it all at once. Let some people become strong first, and then the strong will drive the strong, and finally everyone will become strong together. This is the perfect strategy. How many super soldiers are there in the world now? Lao Wang asked. Sir, so far, a total of 18,356 people have been injected with super soldier serum, including 1 super soldier Shuanglong, 7 super soldier Red Dragon, and 108 super soldier Immortal. The largest number is in China, with a total of 2,019 people. Followed by the United States, and then the United Kingdom and France. Among all super soldiers, 1/3 belong to the Schengen Bureau and SHIELD, 1/3 belong to the military of various countries, and 1/3 belong to the governments of various countries. The data in Dunhuan was collected by Adam. It cannot be said to be absolutely accurate, but it can be generally believed. Nearly 20,000 super soldiers are probably one of the more than 300,000 super soldiers in the world, a good number. Lao Wang nodded, thought about it carefully, and then said, "Help me contact the governments of various countries. I have something to discuss with them." The change of the times will inevitably lead to changes in the international situation. Looking at the universe, any civilization that has stepped out of the surface and entered the interstellar era is definitely not a loose civilization. In the explored universe, there are more than 1 million civilizations at level 2 and above, and 99% of them are unified, and only a very small number remain divided. Only a unified civilization can be more capable of dealing with the complex environment and situation in the universe. Of course, the wheel of history rolls forward, and Lao Wang does not need to push it at all. It will inevitably come to fruition as time goes by. But there is one thing that he feels it is necessary to push. The Schengen Bureau needs more power and more people. Space war is not something that any country can participate in alone, and it must require the union of various countries. So far, the Schengen Bureau is the only organization that has an interstellar fleet, but until now, only the Schengen belongs to the Schengen Bureau. There is no definite statement about who the captured Chitauri spacecraft belonged to. Every country was very envious and wanted to swallow it up or divide it up. Lao Wang never liked to show force. He liked to convince people with reason. But if it really came to the point, he might as well give it a try. A high-level meeting was held as scheduled. There were some arguments at the beginning of the meeting, but it soon became calm. Everyone else showed good upbringing and high demeanor, shut their mouths tightly, put their hands flat, straightened their backs, and listened carefully to Lao Wang's teachings. SHIELD has an interstellar fleet, and I'm the supreme commander and captain of the Schengen. The fleet has an interstellar team, which is equipped with the best individual space equipment, including individual combat aircraft, which allows interstellar warriors to survive in space and perform missions alone. The interstellar team has very high requirements for personal quality. It recruits from all over the world and must pass special assessment. Every interstellar warrior will be injected with super soldier serum. Soldiers injected with different sera have different names, such as Extremis Warrior, Red Dragon Warrior, Mongoose Warrior, Nightblade Warrior. Captain Steve Rogers, Sergeant James Barnes, Frank Custer and others will serve as captains of the battalions respectively. Each battalion is divided into several squadrons, and each squadron is divided into several teams. SHIELD has a unit that performs special combat missions. It is directly under my jurisdiction and only accepts my orders. It is called Fengshen. Because everyone in this unit is like a god. The first batch of members of the gods include Shockwave, Scarlet Witch, Hulk, Ghost Rider, Black Sky, Black Bolt, Thor. You heard it right. Black Bolt and Thor are external members. I will inform them, and they will agree. In addition, Lao Wang talked for 2 hours before he supported himself on the table with both hands and looked back and forth at everyone. Do you understand? Do you have any opinions? No one answered. They couldn't even speak or shake their heads. They could only nod like puppets. Very good. Lao Wang stood up, dismissed. Watching him leave, the ki controlling his body finally dissipated. Too much. How could he? Someone who was experiencing this kind of situation for the first time angrily slammed the table and then suddenly froze all over and couldn't say a word. Haha. Others shook their heads. If you think Director Wang is too much, you should say it to his face. What's the point of saying it behind his back? People can hear it. This matter is not something they can decide. They are all passing the microphone. They have to hurry back to report and then hold a meeting to discuss it. The purpose of the meeting is not to oppose, but to discuss how to strive for benefits for your country and get more benefits within the rules and regulations given by Director Wang. Director Wang has never cared about these trivial things. There are still many operational things. What to do must be decided as soon as possible. Director Wang does not like a slow pace. Whoever is slow can only drink soup. Of course, no one can guarantee that no one will stand up to oppose. But the outcome, Director Wang has always been kind and will not do anything to you. But the benefits he gives to other countries can only be said to have nothing to do with you. Director Wang has only benefits and no harm to all countries. He is flying with 7 billion people and you want to fall behind. Then fall behind. Chapter 454, Concept of the Second Fleet, Part 2. After the meeting, Lao Wang went directly to the outside of the sun. The god stick and the spoils of the Chitauri army were all piled here, and then with the cooperation of scientists, engineers, and a large number of other personnel and robots, all aspects of work began, including cracking, research, repair, and reorganization. The reason why it is outside the sun, rather than outer space on Earth, is because it is closer to the sun, and can make better use of solar resources. The sun itself is a nuclear fusion reactor. The energy output every second is not enough for 7 billion humans. If we can use 1% or even 1,000th of this energy, human civilization will advance for hundreds of years. In fact, it is not difficult. For advanced civilizations in the universe, it is not difficult at all. 3 million light years away from the Earth, there is a fairly good advanced civilization that uses an artificially made small sun as the energy core to build a supergiant starship to help the survivors of the civilization escape successfully and preserve the fire for the revival of civilization. For such a civilization, using solar energy is actually very simple. Devices similar to the Dyson sphere are everywhere in the universe. The dwarves can even use neutron stars as furnaces, not to mention stars, which are at least one order of magnitude less difficult. Of course, whether it is a Dyson sphere or other devices, they are all very huge projects. Even if the entire human civilization unites, it may not be completed in 100 years. This thing is much more difficult than the planetary engine, and Lao Wang must be impatient. But whether it is the Kree starship or the Chitauri spaceship, they have corresponding technologies. As long as they are close enough to the sun, they can capture part of the burning matter and energy from the sun by manipulating the force field, thereby charging their energy cores. The efficiency of all the spaceships added together is not even much worse than that of the original cosmic cube, so it's a waste not to use it. More than a year has passed since the battle that year. The efficiency of interstellar civilization is not comparable to that of humans. Such a long time is enough to do a lot of things. A full 30 Chitauri spaceships are suspended in space, forming an arc array, and there are also a large number of troop transports next to them. The structures of all the spacecrafts have not changed much. The energy core, force field device, energy shield device, energy weapons and other aspects have been upgraded and improved accordingly. Then the surface coating has also become a golden and red color, a pleasing color. One bridge after another connects the spacecraft together to form a huge fan-shaped area. A large number of scientists, engineers, and robots wearing space equipment are constantly shuttling on the bridge. Under the control of the intelligent control system, large machines are piecing together different materials and parts to transform the spacecraft and upgrade the troop transporter. A large number of single-soldier combat aircraft are floating between the spacecraft. These aircraft are no longer the original appearance. Many parts have been replaced. The energy core has been replaced with a small energy battery with a vibranium shell, which is enough for them to fly continuously in space for a year. Even if they encounter a large-scale war, they can at least support a week. It still looks good. Lao Wang was very satisfied, just like looking at his own children and his children's children. This is the first fleet of the Schengen Bureau, and it is also the most powerful force on Earth. Although the number is not as good as the original Chitauri fleet, the combat effectiveness is stronger. I believe it will be useful soon. Even if thrown into the universe, it can barely be considered the third tier, no less than most second-level civilizations. How is the development of the second fleet going? Lao Wang asked. Wukong's voice soon sounded. The second generation star mothership is under development, and the current development progress is 32%. Compared with the Godstick, the performance is improved by 200% to 300%, and the total weight is increased by 10 times. The second generation interstellar spacecraft is also under development, and the current development progress is 41%. Compared with the flying fighter, the performance is improved by 400% to 500%. Other related technologies and joint combat units are also under research. Lao Wang nodded again. Everything is moving in a good direction. With the Kree starships and individual combat aircraft as the foundation, the future second fleet will only be stronger than Ronan's accusation fleet. As long as it does not provoke the advanced cosmic civilizations such as the Kree Empire and the Nova Corps, it is enough to ensure the safety of the Earth. Even the Chitauri Corps probably dare not rashly invade. Don't come, it's just looking for death. Can it be built? Lao Wang asked. Research, design and manufacturing are two different things, and the difficulty of the latter is not necessarily lower than the former. The Earth does not have the corresponding technology at all. If it develops normally, it will not be possible in 100 years or even 1,000 years. A space dock that can manufacture starships is not necessarily much smaller than a Dyson sphere, and the difficulty coefficient is even greater. Level 1 civilizations can't even think about it. Level 2 civilizations may not dare to think about it. Only level 3 civilizations, that is, galaxy level civilizations, can mobilize such huge resources to mass produce starships. Such civilizations must be advanced civilizations in the universe, and there will not be too many. There are probably 2 or 3 in the Milky Way. A space dock requires at least 10 resource stars to provide resources. Even if the mineral resources of the entire Earth are mined, it is not enough. It is ridiculous to want to build it on the Earth. No, first of all, there are not enough resources. According to your order, 3 second-generation starships are designed, and the resources required for each one are 10 times that of the Godstick. Each starship needs to carry 10 small combat ships, 5 small transport ships, 20 fast escape ships, 100 second generation interstellar spacecraft, and 5,000 single soldier combat spacecraft. The entire second fleet needs more than 10,000 tons of vibranium alone. All the vibranium in Wakanda is not enough, and other metals need to be used instead. Energy is also insufficient. The energy consumption of the second generation starship is 27.1 times that of the Godstick, and even exceeds the energy consumption of 7 billion people on Earth. The energy consumption of the entire second fleet is 9 times that of a second generation starship, which is equivalent to 1/7 of the energy consumption of a standard planetary civilization. This is just the normal state. Once entering the combat state, the energy consumption will increase by at least 10 times. So far, even if all the output of the space gem is used, it is far from enough. The technology is also insufficient. The second fleet integrates all the science and technology of the Kree, Chitauri, Stark Industries, SHIELD, Wakanda, Kunlun spacecraft, and Azeroth Group. Many parts are derived and designed by me and Dunhuang, and researched and tested in the virtual world. The virtual world built for this purpose alone occupies 78.3% of my resources and 72.3% of Dunhuang's resources. It has not yet reached the most difficult stage. Otherwise the resources of me, Dunhuang, Adam, and Eve combined would not be enough. There are still 82,352 technical difficulties that have not been broken through. Even if the entire design is completed, due to the high difficulty coefficient, there are very few civilizations that can build it in the universe, and only a very small number of advanced civilizations can barely do it. Lao Wang rubbed his eyebrows. The second fleet of the Schengen Bureau is positioned too high. Even if a small half of the top scientists on the entire Earth are gathered, it is indeed difficult to achieve. But since there are difficulties, they must be solved. He thought for a moment and said, "Don't worry about resources and energy, I'll find a way. As for the virtual resource problem, I think Dr. Pym will find a solution soon. Didn't he say that the research on the quantum brain is about to be completed? As for technical problems, we should try to solve them as much as possible. Some non-core technical difficulties can be entrusted to other companies, laboratories, researchers, or even academies of science in other countries to solve. We can share technology and don't have to worry about leakage. There is no need for a technical blockade. If it still can't be solved, I'll find a way. These difficulties cannot be solved by the Earth alone. It seems that it's time to go to the universe." Lao Wang has been waiting for an opportunity, but it's still early now, and that opportunity has not appeared yet. In addition, there is a big disaster on the Earth that needs to be solved urgently. Calculating the time, the big gathering of the 9 realms should be here, right? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 455, The Beginning of the 9 Realms Convergence, 4000. Jane Foster was in a good mood today. She had been here for nearly 4 years, since Director Wang bought the best astronomical laboratory in the UK. 4 years was enough to change many things, including herself. Miss Daisy, who was still an intern at the time, was actually qualified to supervise interns, and she was already a world-renowned astronomer with 3 doctoral degrees, and had a high authority in this field. But some things remained unchanged. She was still single. She was a standard Western woman, and it was impossible for her to remain single for nearly 4 years, just because she liked someone. She had a boyfriend during this period, but it was just an attempt to forget the man who didn't care about her, so there was no development at all. Maybe love was just an optional filler in her life, and scientific research was the eternal truth and the only thing in her entire life. Compared with boring love, she cared more about the secrets of the universe. This was London, one of the most famous international metropolises in the world. She didn't know why Director Wang bought the laboratory here. There were better ones in the United States and other countries, but he chose this one. The woman's intuition told her that there must be a reason, but she couldn't figure it out, and she didn't think of asking Director Wang. They hadn't seen each other for more than a year, and could only see news about him on the internet. The van went forward and soon arrived at a certain place. This was an abandoned building. It was said that someone had discovered a time-space anomaly here, and their instrument readings were also abnormal. They walked forward and soon met a group of children. "It's here." After a brief exchange, the child performed a magic trick for them that only superheroes could do. He just raised his hand lightly and lifted a car up, just like using anti-gravity technology. Is gravity unbalanced? Gravity failed. Miss Jane was immediately interested. Is there anything else? Yes. The child took them to the upper floors of a building, then picked up a can and threw it into the empty space in the middle. The can fell and suddenly disappeared. "Where did it go?" Jane asked. The child pointed to the top of his head. She looked up quickly. The can appeared from high in the sky, continued to fall, then disappeared, and continued to appear in the sky. It went on, and it seemed like it would never stop. "It's incredible." She quickly took out the detector from her backpack and found that the readings were increasing. Jane felt that this scene was somewhat familiar. The last time I saw this reading, it was still, or New Mexico? Miss Daisy, the good friend and bad student, teased. Jane blushed. "Don't touch the equipment." She ran wildly with the detector, constantly looking for the place with the highest readings, which must be the center of the space anomaly. Soon, she came to a room. Suddenly, the wind started to blow. The degree of the detector soared, breaking through the limit, and a number that should not have appeared at all appeared. The next moment, she disappeared as if she was swallowed by a monster. Leaving the First Fleet, Lao Wang teleported to the Azeroth laboratory. Then he heard Eve's voice. "Sir, space-time anomalies have appeared all over the world, and space-time instability has been found in many places. A total of 82 monitoring stations have detected abnormal readings, and this number continues to increase. People have disappeared. The Bureau of Divine Sticks found the space-time anomaly point where the accident occurred as soon as possible and blocked the area. No further action is taken for the time being." Space-time anomaly? Lao Wang nodded. "Let Adam continue monitoring and collect all the data. Mobilize all monitoring stations and monitoring satellites around the world. Send out the Azerothian soldiers and mobilize all the Schengen Bureau to locate time and space anomalies around the world. This is the highest order. Except for the personnel of A-level and S-level tasks, no one else can be left behind. I will obey your orders, sir." Lao Wang thought for a while and continued. "Contact Wukong immediately and withdraw the First Fleet to outer space of the Earth. Stop in near geosynchronous orbit. Enter the first level combat readiness state and be ready to launch an attack at any time." "Yes, sir." In addition, notify all members of the Infinity Gem Laboratory to hold a meeting in 2 hours. Those on vacation will be cancelled immediately, and tell them to pay 10 times the overtime pay and send a flying fighter to pick them up. If they don't come back, they don't have to come back. "Yes, sir." After 3 orders were issued in a row, Lao Wang took out the Infinity Gauntlet. In 2010, he got this pair of gloves from Odin's treasure house and never used it. The glove itself is just a container. The Infinity Stones repel each other. If any 2 Infinity Stones appear in the same place, only one can be used. Once 2 are used at the same time, they will cancel each other out and become completely ineffective. So no matter whether it is Odin, Ancient One or Thanos, they can only use 1 Infinity Stone at a time. The function of the Infinity Glove is to allow more than 1 Infinity Stone to take effect at the same time. It is not valuable in itself, equivalent to a low to medium level artifact, probably slightly higher than the shell of the Cosmic Cube and the Mind Scepter. But its function is so powerful that even Thanos wants it. Lao Wang is strong enough and has no reliance on the Infinity Stones. In addition, he does not know much ancient knowledge and cannot use much power. The Infinity Glove is of little use to him unless he collects all 6 Infinity Stones. In the past, there was not much blood of Azeroth on hand, so the Infinity Glove was never analyzed. Now it is different. The Azure Light enveloped the Infinity Glove and put it into the Heart of Azeroth. Do you want to deconstruct the Infinity Glove? Yes/no yes. 300 points of blood of Azeroth disappeared. The higher the level of the item, the longer it takes to deconstruct it. It took 24 hours to deconstruct the cosmic cube and the mind staff. The infinity gauntlet is of a higher grade, so it takes longer, 72 hours. In fact, it doesn't matter whether it is deconstructed or not. After all, the infinity gauntlet can be used now. But since I remembered it, I just did it, and it will be useful sooner or later. Then Lao Wang opened the door and came to Kamataj. As soon as he arrived, he saw the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One. Obviously, she noticed the fluctuations in space and reacted very quickly. Supreme Sorcerer. Lao Wang nodded and saluted, then said, abnormal space-time phenomena have appeared all over the world. I suspect that the convergence of the 9 realms is about to begin. It has already begun. A huge 3-legged bronze round tripod appeared in front of him, with sparkling water in it. Ancient One stretched out his right hand and placed it on it. The water light immediately turned into a vortex and soon returned to calm, looking like a mirror. Ancient One made a gesture of invitation. Lao Wang looked over quickly. This thing is the cauldron of all things, and its value is no less than the floating cloak. It is one of the artifacts of the Supreme Mage of all generations, and is also called the Cauldron of the Universe. It can be used to observe the universe. It can be called a warrior artifact. In an instant, under the effect of the Cauldron of all things, Lao Wang's eyes traveled through an unknown distance of light years, and came to another void, where he saw the complete appearance of the 9 realms. They were almost connected into a line, with only a slight deviation, that the naked eye could not distinguish. The 9 realms are one of the most special existences in the universe. Ancient One said, they are constantly running in the world tree, with the earth as the center, and they will converge once every 3,000 years. The influence between them runs through the world tree, producing a space-time anomaly scene, which is equivalent to she shook her folding fan. A world tree in an energy state appeared. 9 planets are located in different positions, running at different orbits and speeds. Suddenly they are connected into a line. Holes of different sizes appear on each planet. Lines are formed between the holes of different planets. Countless lines are densely packed, representing the essence of the space-time anomaly phenomenon. You can think of it as countless small jump points, or wormholes, or portals. Anything will do in the 9 realms. Ancient One explained. Such time and space anomaly areas are not only spread throughout the 9 realms, but also throughout the entire world tree. During this period of time, as long as you can grasp a part of the time and space anomaly areas, and know how they are connected to each other, you can come and go freely between the 9 realms. Lao Wang nodded. So, it's a big trouble. You're right, it's a big trouble. Ancient One's face was a little solemn. The convergence of the 9 realms caused problems in the operation of the world tree. This is the power of the world tree, which is incredibly huge, far exceeding the Rainbow Bridge. Whether it is Asgard's defense barrier, the 3 major temple defense network of the earth, or the seal of Helheim's underworld, they can't fight it, so therefore, it is possible that the people on earth may appear in the other 8 worlds during this period of time, or even in the space outside the 9 realms, and the creatures from the other 8 worlds may also come to earth. Lao Wang said, for example, the Asgardians, the undead in Helheim, the frost giants, the fire giants, and the dark elves. Dark elves. Guyi remembered something, and shook his head. The dark elves were exterminated 3,000 years ago. I have been to Svartheim several times. There is not a single dark elf there, not a single living thing. It has long become a dead land, a dead and dark world. Maybe. Lao Wang did not refute, because the existence of the dark elves is a secret that even Nodin does not know. He said, the abnormal phenomena in time and space have begun, and there are more and more. I think soon all kinds of creatures will appear on the earth, and humans will leave the earth, which will cause global panic. Uninvited guests will bring killing and blood. Most of the disappeared humans can't come back. The environment in other places in the 9 realms is not suitable for human survival. What do you need us to do? Guyi asked. The dark creatures on earth have been almost wiped out. Although there are still some that slip through the net, they can't cause any big waves. The pressure on the mages has been reduced a lot, and a lot of manpower should be freed up, right? Lao Wang said, when it comes to finding anomalies in time and space, magic is more effective than technology. I hope the mages can help find the anomalies in time and space, and then use magic to block them, so that those who shouldn't come won't come, and innocent people won't die. Guyi was silent for a few seconds. I can mobilize at most 300 mages, most of them are apprentices. They have limited abilities, and it is difficult for them to deal with the creatures from the 9 realms that come to Earth. The battle can only rely on you, Director Wang. The defense networks of the 3 major temples can't help? Lao Wang asked. The power of the world tree has weakened the defense network of the 3 major temples, and they can't draw out any extra power. Ancient One said, I can't do anything either. I have to stay in Kamatage to prevent powerful enemies from the multiverse from taking the opportunity to attack the Earth. Director Wang, once they invade the Earth, the consequences will be far more serious than the 9 realms gathering. I understand. The Divine Bureau will do its best, and I will also notify SHIELD and various governments. The 9 realms gathering will not last long, so it's not a big problem. Old Wang frowned. He thought of more. The defense network of the 3 major temples has been weakened, and so have the other worlds. Several of the 9 realms are dissatisfied with Asgard, and will definitely take the opportunity to attack. Asgard may not be able to draw out much power to help, and will most likely defend Asgard for the sake of being conservative. Even Odin himself will not take action, because the power of the 9 realms gathering will also weaken Hela's seal, and he will definitely use all his strength to maintain the seal. Because once Hela escapes, the consequences will be equally serious, even more serious than the 9 realms gathering. In the memory of Thor, the Dark World, the 9 realms converged, Asgard was breached by the Dark Elves, and even the Queen of Gods Frigga was killed. Odin did nothing, but there was a reason. I don't know what happened to Asgard. Lao Wang couldn't care less. The Earth was about to start to be in chaos, and he had to put out fires everywhere and prepare as soon as possible, because if nothing unexpected happened, the Dark Elves would definitely come to the Earth, and that battle was inevitable. The other particle, if I remember correctly, it is buried deep underground in Asgard. I just don't know if Miss Jean has found it. This depends on luck, which is the lucky halo effect of the heroine. Lao Wang certainly can't go to Asgard casually, which is equivalent to a legal invasion, and Asgard's defense network is not a joke. Even if he went, he probably wouldn't find it. The father of the gods of the previous generation, Bor, is also one of the few heavenly fathers in the universe. His seal is difficult to find, and difficult to break. For himself, this is the best opportunity and the most likely to get the other particle. I just don't know if the flapping of my wings like a big butterfly has changed Miss Jane's life. Jane, awesome. Lao Wang was planning to go to London to see how Miss Jane was doing. Suddenly, Dun Huang's voice rang out. Sir, the Infinity Gem Laboratory is conducting a human experiment. It may not be possible to hold a meeting in time. Mr. Stark said that this matter is more important than any meeting. Maybe you should come and take a look. Experiment? What kind of experiment is so important that you dare to refuse the meeting I personally convened? Tony, you are going to rebel. Lao Wang changed his mind and returned to the laboratory. Today's one update. Chapter 456 Quicksilver's new ability, Part 1. Infinite Energy Laboratory. Quicksilver Petro Maximov lay on the experimental table, always feeling that he was not a person at all, but more like a weak, pitiful, helpless little white mouse who could not control his own destiny. The stable force field released by dozens of devices around him interfered with and restricted his abilities, making it impossible for him to move quickly, and naturally he could not escape. Moreover, he personally agreed to this experiment, and no one forced him. But when he agreed, he really didn't expect it to be so painful. How long has it been? A year, or a year and a half? Almost every day he has to lie on the test table for testing, and at least one tube of blood is drawn every day, and sometimes it is not just blood, but other messy things, such as muscle tissue, urine, saliva, and other body fluids. In order to ensure that enough body fluids are drawn, he now eats 3 meals a day instead of rice, but the nutrient solution specially studied by Simmons, the kind that can grow 1 pound by eating 2 pounds, and the effect is better than pig feed. Calculating carefully, he hasn't eaten meat for almost a month, and vegetables and fruits can only be eaten in dreams. orange, blue, and fiery red rays swept across his body, making him feel very uncomfortable, as if he was being aimed at by dozens of sniper rifles at the same time. He always felt that he would meet God in the next moment. If there really is a God in this world. Looking at those scientists in white coats standing in front of the instruments and operating them continuously, Quicksilver could not help but ask, I say, are you sure? You have asked this question for the 136th time today. After pressing more than a dozen buttons, Fitz said helplessly, we conducted 2,634 virtual tests, taking into account 9,354 situations, adjusting parameters again and again, and the last 48 experiments were all successful, and there will be no problems. But all the virtual tests before the 48 times failed. Pietro tentatively negotiated, how about you put me down first? I want to pee. But there is no urine in your bladder. Fitz looked at the holographic projection on the screen, zoomed into the bladder and urethra, looked at it carefully inside and out for half a minute, and scratched his head. Is there something wrong with the instrument? Or is there something wrong with your bladder and urethra? Or is there something wrong with the prostate? It can't be that. The instrument. There must be something wrong with the instrument. Quicksilver was afraid that Fitz would say something shameful about the organ, and hurriedly shouted, quick, put me down. I want to pee. Ignore him. Dr. Banner, who is well versed in life sciences, said without turning his head, the instrument is fine, and there is no problem with the bladder and urethra. He doesn't even have a girlfriend. Quicksilver. How do you know? I change a girlfriend every day, you know? You do have a girlfriend, but what's the difference between having one and not having one? Young man, you are not young anymore. When I was your age, I had changed almost 1,000 girlfriends. Tony walked over and looked at Quicksilver and said earnestly, Fitz is better than you. Although he has only one girlfriend, he has a high frequency every day. Fitz, you are late again this morning. In addition, you made too much noise, and Dr. Ross has an opinion, right? Dr. Banner? Dr. Banner lowered his head. He also wanted to be late, but he hasn't had sex with his girlfriend Betty Ross yet, and he doesn't know when his physical problems will be solved. There is really nothing to be proud of for peeing 3 feet against the wind. Okay, that's Hulk. He really doesn't have that ability. I had originally planned to have Betty injected with the super soldier serum, so that even if she turned into the Hulk in excitement, there would be nothing to be afraid of, as she would not be crushed to death or killed. But then I remembered that the problem was not here. It was there. Mr. Stark, we can start. Fitz's face turned red, and he changed the subject abruptly. Some time ago, he and Simmons were injected with the improved version of the super soldier serum, Immortality. Their physical fitness was even stronger than that of the former Captain America and the Winter Soldier. They could fight for a whole day and a night without any problem, and they would not be tired at all. Captain Rogers must be very clear about this, as he has said it many times. With such high energy, it is understandable that she is late for work. Tony was too lazy to tease this kid who blushed when he joked, and snapped his fingers. Dun Huang, how are the results of the examination? Mr. Stark, everything is normal, we can start. Tony stopped joking, his face became serious, and he said, then, start. One by one, the restraints popped out automatically, fixing Quicksilver's hands, feet, head, and every part of his body on the test bench. After a few seconds, the test bench began to deform, and turned into a sealed cabin. Air pressure is normal, life signs are normal, space resonance is normal. Start activating the space gem now. The space gem, which is about the size of an egg, floated to the top of the sealed cabin under the action of the binding force field, releasing azure light. Gamma ray intensity is steadily increasing. Output power 1%. All signs are normal. Should we increase the output power? Tony glanced at the parameters on the screen and said, don't ask, just increase it. Keep increasing it. Output power 2%, 5%. Space resonance begins to become disordered. Start the resonance stabilizer. Stabilization is successful. Output power 10%, 20%. The cell activity of the experimental product increased by 200%, and the physical fitness increased by 240%. Conduct a comprehensive analysis. The results of the analysis are as follows. Output power 30%, 40%. The cells show signs of inactivation. Tony hurriedly said, "It's gone so soon. Petro, are you a man? Stop the injection." Although he said so, Tony was still very surprised. In his heart 40%, which is already on par with the best data of the virtual simulation experiment. It is almost impossible to break through. The energy of the space stone is too strong. If it is fully powered, it can completely drive the Godstick. It will not have any problem to take on a few more Chitauri ships. The latest Mark 37 is estimated to be unable to withstand it. Dr. Banner will have to turn into the Hulk. So much energy was injected into Quicksilver's body, and no one knew what happened. It was time to test it carefully. "How do you feel?" The hatch opened, the restraints were released, and Tony looked up and asked. But there was no one in front of him. "Where is that kid?" he asked. "No, I don't know." Fitz, who had been staring at Quicksilver, was also a little confused. He was there just now, and suddenly he disappeared. This shouldn't be the case. Is there something wrong with the stabilizing force field equipment? That is the latest developed stabilizing force field, powered by vibranium energy batteries. It should be absolutely fine. Could it be he mutated again? Dr. Banner lowered his head and raised his right hand to his chin. From the perspective of genetics, human genes have infinite permutations and combinations, and there are infinite possibilities. A large amount of cosmic energy input into Petro's body may have destroyed the chemical bonds in his body and completely changed his genes. Simmons nodded. "Drive Banner is right." Fitz hurriedly nodded. "Simmons is right. I think so too." Tony snorted. "In fact, there is another possibility. He didn't mutate, but his ability has been enhanced to a level that exceeds the limit of the stable force field." A gentle voice sounded. It was Lao Wang. He appeared out of thin air and attracted everyone's attention. "Exceed the limit?" Fitz's first reaction was that it was impossible. "We have conducted tests, and the stable force field can block even Blind Monk, that is, Gordon, even his teleportation ability. No matter how fast Quicksilver is, it is impossible to break the space limit, unless—" "You guessed it right," Lao Wang said. "His speed has been increased to the limit, that is, the speed of light. Now he can directly use speed to break through space and perform space jumps." "Space jump?" Upon hearing this, Fitz was very excited. "Then he is a humanoid teleportation device? He has the same ability as Gordon? He can teleport to any place at any time? I don't know how his ability compares to Gordon's and the big dog named Tetanus. It depends on whether he has enough energy supply." Lao Wang said. "Tetanus' ability is teleportation. Gordon's ability is related to the inhuman gene, which is quite special. Their teleportation does not require much energy. Petro's main ability is high-speed movement, breaking through space for jumps, which is a side effect. It consumes a lot of energy, and once the energy is exhausted." Before he finished speaking, he saw a person appear in front of him. "You are all wrong." Quicksilver scratched his head embarrassedly. "Actually, I went out through the wall and came back through the wall." Chapter 457. Annihilate the Enemy Beyond Earth, Part 2. On the test bench, Quicksilver lay straight, and various instruments tested him. A group of people watched. "Can you stop looking at me like that?" Quicksilver was very nervous. "The look in your eyes makes me feel like I'm really a guinea pig." "That's right." Tony looked at the data on the screen, his brain working at high speed, analyzing. Your ability to move at high speed is essentially high speed particle motion. So even though your two legs are always moving, it has nothing to do with this. "What do you mean?" Quicksilver was stunned. "Are you saying that I don't actually need to run? I always thought that the faster I pedaled, the faster I would go, and the previous test didn't mention this. Didn't they say that my ability is mainly related to space? Which idiot did the test for you before?" Tony asked. Fitz lowered his head and raised his hand. "Well, it does have something to do with space, but that's a simple way of putting it." Tony decided to give Fitz some face. After all, they had been together for so long, and he often bought him hamburgers, but in essence it is the motion of high-speed particles. But before, the energy was too little, and the movement was too slow. Now that you have absorbed the cosmic energy of the space stone, this ability has been enhanced. Then what? Quicksilver asked humbly. After all, it was related to his own body. Then you can send your body through the wall in the form of high-speed particles, and then reassemble it. Tony said, of course you don't know what's going on. You just want to pass through the wall, and then you pass through the wall. This is because you can control the process through mental power. For example, although you don't know what the double helix structure of DNA looks like, it doesn't prevent you from being a person. I've been to school and know what it's like. Quicksilver is very happy, so I really can pass through walls. It's a small ability, not worth being happy about. Tony said, your cells have been enhanced and enhanced by cosmic energy. Your body strength has exceeded that of steel. There is no limit to your ability to move at high speed. In theory, you can indeed make space jumps through high speed movement, but as Director Wang said, this requires a lot of energy, a lot. I said, I always felt that I hadn't reached my limit when running before. Quicksilver was very happy, so I can really travel through space? Yes, but you have to have enough energy. Dr. Banner interrupted, either you have to absorb the energy of the space stone every time you jump, or it will take a long time for you to jump once. Your body has been strengthened by the space stone, and now it can also automatically absorb cosmic energy, but it is very slow, much slower than the original cosmic cube. That's not bad. Quicksilver clenched his fist. Theoretically, you can also travel through time and travel to the future instead of the past through atomic resonance. Tony paced back and forth, thinking carefully before saying, but it's not that easy. And even if you travel through time, you'd better not do anything, otherwise you may not be able to come back. This ability is meaningless, and can be completely ignored. Why? Why can't you come back? Well, time is mysterious, and involves many parameters. Anything you do, any change, anything you touch, will change the parameters, and you can't adjust the parameters accurately by yourself. Dr. Banner interrupted again, unless you have an accurate space-time locator. Dr. Pym has the most say in this regard. I'll go find Dr. Pym. Quicksilver was about to run, but a big hand held him down. We'll talk about this later. Lao Wang looked into his eyes and said, now there are more important things for you to do. Okay, the experiment is temporarily suspended, and a meeting will be held. This is the situation. After spending 10 minutes to introduce the general situation, Lao Wang said, what do you think? Abnormal space-time phenomena? Dr. Banner shook his head. This is not my specialty. But if necessary, I can help or provide some reference opinions. This is not my specialty either. Fitz followed and said, I can also help. Simmons and others could only shake their heads. They didn't understand even more. Tony thought for a while and said, the change in space-time must be caused by the change in the force field. The 9 kingdoms are connected by a special gravitational field. This gravitational field causes space-time to change that cannot be seen by the naked eye. Although the distance is very far, at the level of the gravitational field, the distance is actually very close. This is the World Tree, a very complex and huge gravitational field. How do you know? Dr. Pym, who came over in a hurry, asked. You are obviously not studying this. When I was researching the space stone, I looked up Dr. Sevge's research materials. Didn't you guys read them? Tony pointed a finger at Dr. Eric Sevge. Great research. You are an expert in this area. Your research materials are very profound. It took me a whole night to understand them. Ahem. That's about right. Eric was a little embarrassed. The famous Iron Man's praise is not something that anyone can enjoy, so he has to be a little happy. Has Dr. Jane Foster not been found yet? Lao Wang asked. Daisy said she's missing and is being looked for. Eric mentioned a place. Adam. Lao Wang shouted. Already retrieved the nearby surveillance. Miss Jean has been missing for 2 hours and 38 minutes. The nearest Iron Soldier has arrived and is conducting a carpet scan. The scan is over. Miss Jean has not been found. Anomalies in time and space have been discovered. It is suspected that Miss Jane is no longer on Earth. Should Iron Soldier be sent to investigate? No need. Lao Wang said. She will be back. Just now, he had used his mental power to detect that place, and even went deep into it along the anomaly point in time and space, and found Jane. Everything was the same as before. The life trajectory of an important character was not so easy to change. Maybe she would become the female Thor in the future. Drive Eric, what do you think? Lao Wang asked. I have been doing research in this area since the appearance of the Rainbow Bridge. Dr. Eric said quickly, I have studied the 9 kingdoms and found many clues and related relics from myths and folktales. Dun Huang, retrieve file number 84 from my private virtual space. Retrieval successful. A picture appeared on the big screen. This was a map with several locations, marked with red circles. Ancient people from all over the world have actually recorded and studied this phenomenon and have built ancient buildings at the anomalies of time and space. TSK, the wisdom of the ancients really can't be underestimated. It's really amazing. He pointed to those places and said, it's mainly in Northern Europe, Norse mythology. There are several places in the UK. Stonehenge, Snowdon, Great Orme. If you connect them. As he spoke, he connected Dunhuang and pointed to the intersection of the lines. Greenwich. The Earth is the center of the 9 realms, and Northern Europe is the intersection of the 9 realms. Greenwich is the exact location. So the Dark Elves will attack Greenwich? Fitz asked. Attack? No, they don't have that chance. Lao Wang smiled. It's not the Dark Elves who are attacking, but us. Us. Yes, us. Lao Wang said, I will let the first fleet take the initiative to attack and annihilate the Dark Elves outside the area. Fitz was stunned for a moment and quickly gave a thumbs up. Boss is mighty. Director is domineering. Chairman is awesome. Iron Fist. Iron Fist. A group of people hurriedly complimented. But how can you find the Dark Elves? Tony asked a practical question. Didn't you say that they have disappeared for 3,000 years and Dodden and the Ancient One couldn't find them? The vast sea of stars is endless. A group of wandering Dark Elves. A spaceship. How to find them? If they are coming, they must come from the nearest space-time anomaly, and it must be a space-time anomaly that can be connected to Svartheim or Asgard. Lao Wang looked at Dr. Eric. Doctor, can you find these places? Yes. Dr. Eric said firmly. That's good, but you have to do more than that. Lao Wang said, the gravity field and the weak points between the 9 realms interact with each other and produce. Anyway, something is produced, so you must be able to use these space-time anomalies to a certain extent, right? In theory, I can design some instruments. In fact, I designed similar instruments before, which are used to observe space-time anomalies. Just modify them, and you can use them. Dr. Eric replied. Then design it, as soon as possible, and everyone will help you make it. Lao Wang said, now there are time and space anomalies all over the world. Quicksilver will take you to those places. You should use those instruments to take advantage of the time and space anomalies as soon as possible to deal with those guys who illegally invaded the Earth. Do you understand? Understood. Dr. Eric nodded. Okay, I just want to exercise. Quicksilver said, I will protect the doctor. I feel that I have become much stronger. I'm no longer a flying man who can only run. Others have things to do too. Lao Wang said, I will be back soon. He raised his hand, and the space gem flew into his hand. Jane, it's time to come back, right? Chapter 458 Ether Particles, Part 1. Jane Foster panicked. What was in front of her? The abandoned building was gone, replaced by a dark world. Under her feet was a dark and hard rock ground, and less than 1 meter away was a bottomless cliff. There were stone pillars standing everywhere, carved with ancient runes that she couldn't understand at all. They seemed to be somewhat similar to the legendary runes that she had seen on some ancient Nordic buildings. It was like an enlarged version of Stonehenge. Countless stone circles were placed together, so densely packed that she couldn't count them at all. Maybe 100, maybe 200, maybe 1000 or 2000. The boundless darkness made it impossible for her to see 100 meters away. Only a red light brought a strange light to this cold and dark world. What is that? Jane couldn't help but move closer and soon saw it clearly. It was a mass of red matter that kept changing its shape. It looked like a group of erratic and unstable red clouds. It was between 2 huge stones stacked one on top of the other. The huge stone engraved with runes, the lower pieces connected to the ground, and the upper pieces suspended in the air by an unknown force. The red substance seems to want to leave the stone, but it can't. There is a strange force that organizes it and imprisons it. Could it be that it caused the abnormality of time and space? Perhaps it was the adventurous spirit in her bones that was at work. Jane subconsciously reached her hand in. Suddenly, the red substance floated to its hand and then drilled into it. What's wrong with me? Where did it go? Jane hurriedly checked her body. There was no bleeding, no pain, no discomfort. Is everything an illusion? Or is everything here covering up something? How can I leave here? Jane looked around, trying to find a way out. Suddenly, she felt dizzy, as if something was pulled out of her body. In a trance, she lost consciousness. Deep in the universe, a dangerous area. There are broken stars everywhere, and there are asteroid belts surrounding it. It is a desolate area that even space pirates are unwilling to visit. No one will come here, even if 10,000 years or a million years pass. In the middle of this area, there is a dark spaceship that cannot be seen from a distance in the lightless world. The lines are straight and hard, and it is somewhat similar to Thanos' temple second. It seems that after an eternal silence, the surface of this sword-shaped spaceship suddenly lit up with a creepy blood red. Little by little, the outline of the spaceship was finally illuminated. It started. Inside the spaceship, a humanoid creature floated. Special armor wrapped him layer by layer, and another long object connected him to the spaceship. As the spaceship started, blood red runes kept lighting up. The helmet automatically retracted, revealing a pale face that seemed to have not seen the sun for thousands of years. He opened his eyes and looked through the glass at the broken world outside, and past memories emerged in his mind 5,000 years ago. He finally found the thing that was born earlier than the Dark Elves and named it Ether Particles. In the constant exploration, he finally mastered part of the power of Ether Particles. As long as the 9 realms converge, the Ether Particles can be released somewhere in Midgard, the center of the 9 realms, and the energy of the world tree can be used to amplify its effect, so that the 9 realms and even the entire universe will return to darkness. All stars will go out. So all creatures that need light will become extinct. Only the Dark Elves born from darkness will draw strength from darkness, become more powerful, and become the only master of the universe. In order to achieve his goal, he led all the Dark Elves to attack Midgard. At the critical moment, the King of the Gods led the army of Asgard to appear. The Dark Elves are not Asgard's opponents, and the King of the Gods, Beoor, is much stronger than himself. As a last resort, he used the fragments of the Ether Particles to transform hundreds of the most powerful Dark Elves into cursed warriors to fight Asgard and delay time for himself. The convergence of the 9 realms was finally completed. It was time to release the Ether Particles. At this moment, Asgard used the power of the Rainbow Bridge to snatch the Ether Particles. Even with hundreds of cursed warriors, they still couldn't defeat the powerful Asgard, the father of the gods, Borg. He could only leave with the remnants of his army and take the last spaceship. Until now, more red runes lit up, and the hibernation capsules opened one by one, and the last Dark Elves walked out of them. The Ether Particles have awakened us, and the gathering of the 9 realms is about to begin again. The gathering of the 9 realms is about to begin. In the temple at the end of the Rainbow Bridge, Heimdall inserted the sword into the pedestal, looked at Thor next to him and said, "Few people can feel it, and even fewer can see it. Every time it appears, it brings danger, but it is really beautiful. I can't see anything." Thor said, "That's because Asgard didn't give you this power. When you ascend the throne, you will naturally gain the ability to observe the universe." Heimdall said, "What danger are you talking about?" Thor was very curious. The last time the 9 realms gathered, the Dark Elves almost plunged the universe into darkness. Dark Elves. Thor thought for a moment, and found this name from his meager knowledge. Wasn't it destroyed by my father's father, Bor? Yes, he has been destroyed. Heimdall said with emotion, so this time, there won't be much danger. This is a blessing in disguise for you, for me, for the father of the gods, for the entire Asgard, the entire 9 realms, and even the entire universe. Father. Thor's face showed a rare worry. His power has been out of control recently. Is he going to fall asleep again? London. A person suddenly appeared in the abandoned building. Is this the place? If it weren't for Miss Jane leading the way, it would be really hard to find. Old Wang shook his head. He easily sensed the existence of Jane Foster. Although the weak connection point between the 9 realms spanned a distance of unknown light years, it was nothing to him. He only needed a wisp of spirit to sense it. Old Wang took a step forward, allowing himself to be swallowed by the anomaly of time and space, and came to another area. Deep underground in Asgard. The old king looked around and saw an extremely huge Stonehenge. Every stone, every inch of the ground, and even the air was filled with extremely powerful Asgard power. The only function of these powers was to form an unbreakable barrier, to isolate the entire Stonehenge and the other particles sealed in it from the outside world. This is a sealing barrier completed with the help of Asgard's own power. It is likely to be stronger than the barrier that seals Hela. Otherwise it would not be possible to trap the other particles that can change reality. From this level, it can be judged that Beowa, the father level king of the gods of the previous generation, already has the power to fight against the infinite gems, although they are only infinite gems that have not been mastered by anyone. Asgard's previous generation is indeed stronger than this generation. The sealing power of the Stonehenge is very strong. Neither himself nor the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One can break it, because what they have to fight against is the power of Asgard itself. It can only be broken when the power of the world tree generated by the convergence of the 9 realms is disordered. The old king raised his hand, and Jane Foster floated in front of him. Through her plump body, the old king saw the other particles. The red substance flowed in her body, even blocking the old king's mental prying. "Are you protecting yourself?" The old king stretched out a finger and poked Jane's body. An extremely huge force suddenly erupted, pushing the old king away. On every boulder around, golden runes emerged, forming an extremely huge sealing barrier, sweeping towards the old king and Jane, trying to reseal the other particles. Why is it different from the plot? The old king's face changed slightly. He sensed the will of the entire Asgard, and also sensed the power that could kill the father level, and even sensed a gaze being projected over. The Heart of Azeroth emitted a burst of azure light, covering the old king and Jane. Before the will of Asgard came, they disappeared. Chapter 459 Cursed Warrior, Part 2. Asgard, the Royal Temple, Odin's bedroom. Odin's face suddenly became very ugly, and he looked down suddenly. What happened? Queen Frigga asked hurriedly. Over the years, she rarely saw her husband lose his composure like this. Even the last time Thor and Loki died, it was not so strong. The ether particles are gone, Odin said. Ether particles. Frigga, the first witch in Asgard and the top student among the top students, immediately thought of the thing that she had never seen before. The Reality Stone and the Infinity Stones? Wasn't it sealed by Father God Border? No one in the universe can break the Father God seal, unless the Space Stone. Odin said, it's not the Iron Fist. The knowledge recorded in the Book of Infinity is incomplete. We deliberately concealed the most important part. Even if he has the Space Stone, he can't break the seal of the Father God with the help of the power of the entire Asgard. Not the Space Stone. Frigga immediately thought of another answer. The blurring of boundaries caused by the convergence of the 9 realms. The space-time anomaly caused by the disorder of the power of the world tree. It just happened to break the seal of the Father God. How could it be such a coincidence? The 9 realms are so big. How could it just happen to break the seal of the other particles? This probability is not even 1 in a trillion. The other particles have the power to change reality. Odin said, the seal of the Father God made it fall into silence, but the convergence of the 9 realms awakened it. The coincidence was caused by it on its own initiative, because it didn't want to be sealed, and the convergence of the 9 realms was its best chance to escape. Where did it go? Frigga asked hurriedly. No one knows where it went. It is the reality gem. It can change everyone's perception and cognition of it. Unless you know exactly where it is, you can't even detect its existence, even if you stand in front of it. Odin was obviously helpless. The space-time anomaly and the seal of the Father God has disappeared. It may have gone anywhere. Midgard, Jotunheim, Svartalfheim, and even Helheim. Helheim? Frigga's heart tightened suddenly. The convergence of the 9 realms is also weakening the seal of Helheim. My slumber will be postponed. Odin's face showed an unconcealed fatigue. I will use the power of Asgard to maintain the seal of Hela to prevent her from escaping early. During this period, Asgard's defense will be weakened. Restrain Thor and don't let him cause trouble at this time. Frigga nodded, with an ominous premonition. It seemed that something terrible was about to happen. She tried to see a glimmer of the truth of the future from the long river of time, but she didn't have the time gem, and her ability was not enough. The convergence of the 9 realms also interfered with her casting, and she couldn't see anything clearly. The only thing she could vaguely see was her own destiny. What is coming will always come. I'm almost at the end of my life. Even if it is 1 or 2,000 years earlier, what does it matter? She smiled slightly, showing her open-mindedness. Svarthim. Since 5,000 years ago, the king of the gods, Bor, led the elite of Asgard to attack here and slaughtered all the dark elves. This place has become a dead place. Today, there is finally a little bit of life. The huge black spaceship docked, and Malekith walked out. Everything was so familiar, and yet so strange. Coming back here after 5,000 years, everything seemed to have never changed, but in fact everything had changed. More dark elves walked down from the spaceship. Not many. All the dark elves in the entire universe are here. They once occupied the entire Svarthim, and at one time there were more dark elves than Asgardians and Earthlings, but now there are only a few left, and the glory is gone. But the ambition remains. Malekith knelt on one knee, grabbed a handful of black soil without any life texture, and a low voice sounded, "Look what I left behind, Agrum. I almost don't remember the days before the light." Agrum walked over in silence. Unlike the slightly thin Malekith, he has a more burly figure and a terrible power hidden in his body. He was originally Malekith's deputy, the commander of millions of Dark Elf warriors, and a survivor of the war that year, a Dark Elf who should have died long ago. Agrum put his right hand on Malekith's shoulder. "Malekith, the continuation of our race is a precious legacy you leave to future generations. We are still alive, and have a chance, which is more important than anything else. I will let the Asgardians have a good taste of the suffering we have suffered." Malekith stood up, with 5,000 years of anger in his voice. "I want to take back the ether particles. I want to restore our world, and I want to end this universe that has been poisoned by light. Your will is our will." Agrum said, "For the Dark Elves, for Svarthim, for the continuation of the race and the ancient glory, we are willing to give everything, including our lives." They returned to the ship and left Svarthim. It is possible that Heimdall and Odin may monitor this place at any time, so they cannot stay for long. Once discovered, with their few manpower, they will be easily eliminated. The 9 realms are about to converge. Malekith picked up a dagger and walked towards Agrum. "You are the strongest among us. Only you are qualified to become the last cursed warrior of the Dark Elves and the most powerful cursed warrior in history. I'm willing to sacrifice myself, just like my people and you." Agrum walked in front of Malekith. The two looked at each other and saw the determination in each other's eyes. Swish. The dagger pierced Agrum's chest, and Malekith stuffed a thing similar to a ruby into his body. Then, Agrum's wound healed quickly, completely isolating the power of the ruby. This is the only way to avoid Asgard's detection methods. Heimdall and Odin's eyes can see through everything, and any hiding method will not work, except this. You will become a cursed warrior and maintain this state until your life is exhausted. Malekith's voice trembled slightly. "Before that, you are the strongest warrior, stronger than anyone in Asgard. Our enemies are no match for you. This is a power gained at the cost of life. I will destroy the enemy's defenses and let you and my people return to a brand new universe." Agrum promised. The spaceship set sail, flying towards Asgard to meet the fate of the Dark Elves. Infinity Gem Laboratory. A flash of light. Lao Wang appeared holding Miss Jane. "Boss, what are you doing?" Fitz's expression was a little strange. It's only been a few minutes since he left, and he has hooked up with a beautiful woman, Dr. Foster, who is several years older than you. Does Sky know about this? Don't make a fuss. Lao Wang laid Miss Jane flat on the laboratory table and stepped back 2 steps to prove his innocence. The other particle, that is, the reality gem, is now in her body. I want to take it out, but it's not very friendly to me. See if there is any way. Reality gem. The scientists present had all heard Lao Wang's introduction to the Infinity Stones and knew that this stone was probably the most incredible of all the stones. Theoretically, it could modify everything in the real world and satisfy any wish of anyone, but of course it would cost a lot to do so. It would absorb the life force of the user, and no matter how powerful a person was, they could not hold it for too long. The greater the modification of reality, the greater the price to be paid. Even if it was just to resurrect a person, it would not be that easy. But despite this, people still wanted to touch it. Don't touch it. Lao Wang slapped Fitz's hand away. If you don't want to die, the other particle has been protecting itself. Anyone who wants to touch its host will be counterattacked by it. This counterattack is so strong that even the Asgardians can hardly bear it, and they will die if they are not careful. Although Fitz was injected with a super soldier serum, his physique is probably the same level as that of ordinary Asgardians, and even if he can withstand it, the equipment worth hundreds of millions of dollars here cannot withstand it. The other particle is a really wonderful structure. When Lao Wang warned, Dr. Banner had already come to the site and operated the equipment for inspection. The latest quantum field generator presented her soul above her body. The orange-yellow soul was filled with red fluid, and it seemed to have merged with her soul and was inseparable. It's a very strong energy, on the same level as a mind stone. Tony walked over and nodded, saying, the other particles and Dr. Foster have generated quantum entanglement. It is not impossible to separate this entanglement, but the current technology cannot do it. It will take at least 3 years, or 5 years. 3 years at most. Princess Shuri and Dr. Pym, two scientists who are very knowledgeable in this area, looked at it carefully. The former said, Wakanda has special research in this area, and has cooperated with Pym technology. It will soon be able to perform surgery at the quantum level. Obviously, we can't wait that long. Lao Wang roughly understood the current situation and waved his hand to get Miss Jane down from the laboratory. You guys go and do other things. I'll find a way. There is only one way. In addition to Thanos and the elders of the universe, Lao Wang knows that there is only one person who has the ability to separate the other particles from the host, and that is the former owner of the other particles, the Dark Elf leader Malekith. As long as Jane appears in front of Malekith, he will definitely do this. But this also means that Jane may be in danger of her life. Originally, I thought that scientists might still have a way, but unfortunately the current level of technology has not reached the level of Princess Shuri's separation of the Mind Stone. Then there is no way. Where would Malekith be at this time? Svartheim? Asgard? Or somewhere unknown in the universe? Lao Wang thought for 2 minutes and decided to go to Asgard to have a look. Chapter 460, Battle of Asgard, Part 1. Asgard. The three warriors are back. Asgard has been in a state of war since the Rainbow Bridge Sif. As the nominal ruler of the 9 realms, Asgard naturally has to suppress the rebellion caused by the rupture of the Rainbow Bridge. Of course, in the eyes of those people, they are heroes who rebel against the tyrannical invaders and rulers, and the Asgardians are definitely the villains. The three warriors went to battle as a routine this time, but just halfway through the battle, they heard Heimdall's message, asking them to return to Asgard immediately. This is the order of the Father of the Gods. Although the fight was not enjoyable, the order of the Father God must be obeyed. With dozens of captives, they returned to Asgard through the Rainbow Bridge, and then escorted directly to prison. Asgard's prison is heavily guarded, and is known as the first prison in the 9 realms. There has been no jailbreak since ancient times, and even Loki, who was imprisoned there, could not escape. Each cell is isolated by a very powerful barrier, and the strength of the barrier is so strong that even Loki cannot break through it, and Thor is about the same. And once the prison breaks out, the alarm will be triggered immediately. The prison guards in Asgard are not easy to mess with. They are all elite, with a strength of 10 tons. If there are more people, no one can escape. At this moment, Loki was in a bad mood. Just now, his mother Frigga came to visit him, but it was just an illusion. What does this mean? Even his mother began to be afraid of him. Of course, it may be Odin's order that he had to do this, but it still made him feel cold, the coldness of his soul. I'm no longer considered a member of Asgard, am I? He was discouraged, and suddenly saw a person. It was a prisoner who had just been escorted in. He was wearing heavy armor and a horned helmet. He looked like a reckless man. Something is wrong. Although he couldn't tell why, he just felt something was wrong. Maybe it was the wizard's intuition. There is something wrong with that person. Forget it, I'm not an Asgardian, and this matter has nothing to do with me. And in another room opposite, Agram turned his back to Loki, stabbed his chest with one hand, took out the red crystal-like thing, and then crushed it suddenly. The fragments of the other particles were freed from the imprisonment and penetrated into Agram's body along his hands and arms, and then flowed all over his body. The blazing flames almost burned him to ashes, and the magma-like thing kept flowing. He roared in pain and punched the ground. The power of the other particle fragments exploded, and the terrifying shockwave directly killed all the other people in the same prison, and then took away their vitality. The whole Asgard was slightly shaking at this moment. This vibration attracted Loki's attention. He got up from the bed and saw what happened in the cell opposite. The guy with the bullhorn helmet seemed to have become stronger than before, and his whole body exuded an energy that even he had to be surprised and frightened. It was a strange energy that he had never seen before, and it seemed to be somewhat similar to the other particles recorded in ancient books. The appearance of the bullhorn warrior and even its armor changed, becoming more hideous and terrifying. He suddenly punched the barrier. Loki saw that the barrier that he had tried hundreds of times to break was broken so easily. Broken. The golden fragments of the barrier fell to the ground. It was the Asgard power condensed into a solid state, and the total was even more than his own. Several prison guards rushed over, raised their weapons, and fired energy attacks at the bull-horned warrior. Loki saw that the energy beam that he didn't even dare to resist hit the bull-horned warrior, but it didn't work at all. The brave Asgardian warrior drew out his sword and chopped the bull-horned warrior. This weapon was made of Asgard's special metal, which could easily kill Asgardians and frost giants with extraordinary physiques, but it was meaningless to the bull-horned warrior. He easily killed the prison guards and sucked them dry. Agram felt very good, never as good as he did now. He was no longer the original Dark Elf commander, but the most powerful destroyer in history. The other particle fragments need strong vitality as food to continue to play a role. The more people they kill, the stronger their power will be. Theoretically, they can be as strong as the sub-father level. It is impossible to be stronger. It is already the limit. But it is enough. Malekith said that Odin cannot take action for the time being. No one in the entire Asgard is his opponent. This war will definitely win. I need help. Agram knew that he could not deal with the powerful army of Asgard by his own strength. The reason why he chose to take action in the prison was to find helpers. He walked to the other cells and shattered the barrier with his fist. Everyone who can be imprisoned here is an elite, and they can never leave until they die. And now, they have a chance. Every released prisoner launched an attack on the prison guards. For thousands of years, many prisoners have been imprisoned here. This is a very powerful force that can give Asgard a headache. After doing all this, Agram walked to Loki's cell. The two looked at each other and saw what each other meant. Hey, I'm also an enemy of Asgard. Let me out, and I'll help you. No, I know you're Odin's son. I saw you chatting with your mother just now. No, I'm actually a frost giant. The entire 9 realms know about it. Don't you know? I really don't know. You don't look like one. Odin imprisoned my frost giant bloodline, so I grew up like this. As long as you let me out, I'll have a way to show you. Show me first, and then let you go. Let me go first. Bye. Agram left. The smile on Loki's face gradually disappeared. Take the stairs on the left, he suddenly said. Agram paused and continued to move forward. You don't need to tell me. The architectural structure of Asgard has not changed in 10,000 years. I figured it out and know how to get there. The prison riot soon attracted Odin's attention. Everyone go to the prison. Don't let those prisoners escape. He immediately summoned Thor and Sif, the 3 warriors, and the Asgard guards. Thor led his men into the cell, but the situation changed again. A more terrible attack has come. There is something in the sky. Heimdall, who has the eyes of God, looked all over Asgard and soon found something hidden in the dark. It was a spaceship, an invisible spaceship. It looked like a dagger. Of course it was very big, bigger than his own temple. Even Asgard's defense barrier didn't react. It didn't cross the barrier at all, but came from the weak time and space anomaly of the 9 realms. The owner of the spaceship must know a lot about the convergence of the 9 realms. Could it be a guy who lived from that era to the present? Heimdall didn't have time to think about it. The spaceship was invisible, and Asgard's defense system couldn't lock it, and couldn't attack it. There was a rebellion in the prison, and Thor led people to deal with it. Now he was the only one who could deal with the spaceship here. He hurriedly ran away from the temple, and ran on the Rainbow Bridge. The spaceship just passed by his temple, and the target seemed to be the Temple of Odin. It's going to support the prison. The prison rebellion is related to it. We must not let it get close. Heimdall ran at full speed, suddenly jumped onto the spaceship, then pulled out the dagger he carried with him, and stabbed it into it. The surface armor was destroyed, the cloaking device failed, and the outline of the spaceship appeared. Seeing the black surface and the runes as red as magma, Heimdall's heart skipped a beat. He had seen this thing in a book. It's the Dark Elf's spaceship. Damn, weren't the Dark Elves extinct? How could there still be one? Heimdall quickly found the weak point, and stabbed the dagger into it, causing an energy explosion. It's over. He landed steadily on the Rainbow Bridge. Before he had time to breathe a sigh of relief, he felt something was wrong. Turning around, he saw a spaceship that was larger than the entire Temple of Odin, appearing in the sky, the mothership of the Dark Elves. Heimdall's heart sank completely to the bottom of the sea. Malekith, the king of the Dark Elves, he's still alive. Chapter 461. Where are the other particles? Part 2. Heimdall could destroy a small spaceship, but he couldn't destroy the Dark Elf mothership. After only a few seconds, hundreds of small spaceships separated from the mothership and flew towards the Temple of Odin. They were soon detected by the defense system, and the Asgard turrets quickly locked on and fired golden divine power shells. This thing directly draws the power of Asgard, hits the target, and explodes after being launched, and then returns to Asgard. It is a veritable clean energy, pollution-free and reusable. Who said that there is no technology in the gods' domain? Their technology tree is just different from that of the Earth. They even have quantum field generators, even soul-smelting furnaces, which are definitely black technology. These dagger-shaped small spaceships are very sensitive, and the pilots are the only remaining elite of the Dark Elves. They drive them to avoid attacks again and again, and fly to the Temple of Odin at a very fast speed. Of course, there are also those who were shot down, but not many. The Asgardians also reacted quickly. In addition to the automatic attack turrets, the elite troops quickly drove Asgard's small combat spacecraft into the sky and confronted the Dark Elf flying creation head-on. There were mutual injuries. The development of the Dark Elves has stagnated for 5,000 years. The performance of the spacecraft is higher than that of the Dark Elves in all aspects. It seems to be more powerful than the Quinjet, but the number is not enough. These spacecraft are usually used for transportation within Asgard. For many years, Asgard has never been breached. Defensive weapons are not used. The attack relies on the Rainbow Bridge. The spacecraft is just a decoration. Although the performance is good, the quality of the pilots is a bit poor, and the combat effectiveness is really not good. This won't work. Heimdall turned around and ran, returned to his temple, and inserted the sword into the base. The divine power of the entire Asgard was mobilized, forming a layer of golden barrier, which slowly rose. This is the most powerful barrier in Asgard, which is specially used to protect the Temple of Odin. Every second consumes the divine power of a Sith, which is usually not worthy of use. A Dark Elf spacecraft crashed into it. Then it exploded instantly. The other spacecrafts quickly rose. The Temple of Odin is safe. Heimdall breathed a sigh of relief, but he didn't notice that a terrible guy had come to the outside of the temple. Cursed warrior Agram walked to the launch device of the defensive barrier and smashed his fist. Suddenly, two different energies clashed, causing a violent explosion. The device was destroyed, and the barrier that had just risen quickly disappeared. It's time to find the other particles. Agram turned and left, walking towards the Temple of Odin. The most intense war began in the Temple of Odin. One after another, the Dark Elf spaceships crashed into the temple and destroyed the building structure. The Dark Elves came out one after another and engaged the Asgardians head-on. Surrounded by several elites, Malekith walked towards the inside of the temple. Odin, who had been maintaining the Seal of Hela, had to lead the defense himself. Most of his strength was invested in the seal, and his strength was still close to the father level. No one could stop him. Those dark elves who were comparable to super soldiers, no one could withstand his attack. In less than 5 minutes, he swept the whole field. However, Malekith had disappeared. He went to another place. Frigga. Odin finally realized that something was wrong. Malekith would never confront him head on, because he knew that he was no match for him. His main purpose was to find the other particles. But he had no idea where the other particles were, so he naturally had to ask someone. Besides himself, the person who was most likely to know the other particles was Frigga. Frigga was in danger. That's not right. Odin suddenly remembered something. Ancient books record that Malekith can sense the approximate location of the other particles. But the other particles are no longer in Asgard, so how could he come here? Unless the other particles are still in Asgard? The space-time anomaly in the Father God seal, is the other end still Asgard? Or has the other particles been obtained by someone and taken to Asgard? Who could it be? Odin felt that everything was out of control, and he felt powerless. I'm still old. He no longer hesitated and walked towards the bedroom. Somewhere in the temple, Old Wang walked out of the space-time anomaly holding Miss Jane. What a powerful teleportation barrier. Sensing that the entire Asgard was imprisoned by a strange power, Lao Wang was helpless. Looking down at the space gem in his hand, he finally understood Odin's shamelessness. That guy didn't open a teleportation barrier for the entire area to prevent me from using the power of the space gem to visit his treasure house, right? Such a powerful barrier, relying on the power of the entire Asgard, is difficult to break even with a space gem. At least it is difficult to break with his control over the space gem. After trying several times, he still couldn't lock Asgard. Lao Wang had to use his mental power to cover the entire Earth, enter one time and space anomaly after another, and finally found the most suitable one and came here. Has the war begun? Hearing the sound of fighting and shouting, Lao Wang released his mind and wanted to find Thor or Odin. It turned out that it was impossible. Knowing that I have a strong spirit, you actually activated the spirit suppression barrier of the entire temple. Odin, are you really that bad? Even his father level spirit power could not pass through a few walls. The barrier here is 10 times more terrible than Dalaran, Silver Moon City and Karazhan. There is no way to deal with it. It's too much. You are shooting yourself in the foot. It hurts, right? These barriers are very complex and powerful. Odin can't open or close them remotely. Now it's not only himself who is forbidden to teleport and suppress his spirit, but also Odin. Now he is attacked by the Dark Elves. Lao Wang suddenly wanted to interview Odin and ask him what he thinks about this matter and how he feels now. Fortunately, he used his spirit power to browse once last time, and he roughly knew the architectural structure of the temple. Thor and Sif are probably in prison to suppress the rebellion. Heimdall should be in his own temple. Maybe Odin and Frigga are in the bedroom? Lao Wang looked around with a strange expression. It seems to be nearby. I didn't expect to come here, so I'll go and take a look. Frigga is a good person. If she can survive, she will die. I don't know if she can save people in time. Odin's bedroom. Goddess, my father asked me to bring people to protect you. Sif led a dozen Asgard guards to seal the bedroom tightly, but saw Goddess Frigga pick up a sword from the bedside and said calmly and steadily, "Child, step back. Leave this to me." "Leave it to you? We are here to protect you." Sif is still young and has not experienced the era when the Valkyries roamed the 9 realms. She didn't like to listen to lectures when she was in school. Naturally, she didn't know how terrible this gentle and kind goddess in front of her is actually. Whether it is force, magic or wisdom, it is far above her, far above all the Valkyries. The goddess of Asgard not only has a status second only to Odin, but also has divine power second only to Odin. He's coming. As soon as Frigga finished speaking, Sif heard a scream, and then the door of the bedroom was pushed open, and Malekith, the king of the Dark Elves, walked in. "Leave here immediately, monster. I can consider sparing your life." The entire set of artifacts of the goddess of war and the witch had long been covered in dust with the blockade of Valhalla. She now has no armor, only the sword in her hand. This sword, which is of the same quality as Thor's hammer, was made by the dwarf king Etri himself. It can absorb the power of Asgard, allowing her, a Vanni witch who does not belong to Asgard, to borrow the power of Asgard to a certain extent. I'm very lucky, woman. Malekith did not launch an attack immediately. He was very interested in the woman in front of him. The entire Asgard is much weaker than it was 5,000 years ago. It is not only the Dark Elves that have declined in war after war, but also Asgard. Dark Elves, Fire Giants, Frost Giants, and the undead in the underworld. In every war, a large number of people will die. The Asgardians, who have a lifespan of 5,000 years, have always had a low birth rate, and the population density is less than 1/3 of what it was 5,000 years ago. The strongest warriors have all died in battle, and most of the remaining ones are Rookies who are less than 2,000 years old. This makes him not interested at all. But the one in front of him seems to be pretty good. Who are you? Frigga had some guesses, but she was not sure. She was not born 5,000 years ago, and she didn't know much about the Dark Elves. I'm Malekith, and I want to take back what belongs to me. Malekith said, woman, tell me where the ether particles are, and I can spare your life. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 462 I Can Save Her, Part 3. But I won't spare you. Sif had been quietly looking for an opportunity and suddenly attacked from behind. She had been honing her martial arts skills, and her swordsmanship was at the master level, but she was easily blocked by Malekith, and then she waved her hand to repel him, and was thrown against the wall of the palace by a powerful force. She felt sore all over, and felt that her body was about to fall apart. She always felt that this was not her body. Who is Malekith? How could he be so strong? Taking this opportunity, Frigga also launched an attack. She was extremely fast, and her sword was fierce and accurate, forcing Malekith to retreat again and again, and he was horrified. Frigga, the queen of the gods, found this person from the memory of the Asgard warrior through soul searching 10 minutes ago. Isn't she just a vase witch? She has never fought, and has no battle record. How can she be so strong? He is not afraid of witches. The magic resistance of Dark Elves is extremely strong. He has once controlled the ether particles, and he is actually a mage. He is not afraid of any mage in the 9 realms. In his time, there was no supreme mage. But he didn't expect that the other party didn't use magic, but close combat. I'm not used to it. He used to be a master of fighting, but after 5,000 years of sleep, his body was not used to it. The other party's skills and experience were not inferior to his own, and even the energy level was comparable to his own. Both of them were sub-godfather level. If he tried his best at the beginning, he should be able to fight happily. But he underestimated this woman, and was attacked by surprise, and inevitably fell into a disadvantage. Several scars soon appeared on his body. A trace of Asgard's power tried to get into his body, but was expelled by his dark power. My other particles. There are very few people in the universe who can reach the level of Godfather by their personal strength alone. The king of the fire giants Surtur relies on the eternal fire. The king of the frost giants Laufey relies on the icebox, and the father of the gods of Asgard relies on the power of Asgard. Even the supreme wizards of all generations, who he didn't know, although they were godfathers, mainly relied on the trinity of Vishanti and the 3 major temples behind them. Except for Agamotto, the strength of other supreme sorcerers would decrease a lot once they left the earth. Among the later supreme sorcerers, only Ancient One could maintain the strength of an ordinary father-level sorcerer outside the earth, but he still relied on the power of the trinity of Vishanti. Once these connections and artifacts were lost, many father-level sorcerers would fall to the level of sub-father-level sorcerers, or even ordinary gods. The same was true for Malekith. If he could get the ether back, he would be a father-level sorcerer, and this woman would be nothing. Frigga's attack became more and more fierce, and she would soon kill Malekith. Suddenly, she felt the crisis coming, and swung her sword to the right. One hand held the sword. The sword that could pierce even the body of a sub-father level sorcerer was actually held tightly by that hand, unable to move or withdraw. Frigga felt the arrival of death. Another hand held her neck, lifted her up like a chicken, and let her punch and kick. Even if she kicked her vitals, she was not afraid, and it didn't hurt. Tell me where the ether is, and I can spare your life. Malekith walked in front of Frigga. I will never tell you. Frigga said calmly. I believe this. As soon as Malekith finished speaking, a sword pierced her heart from behind. It was the sword she used. No. Sis screamed. The ether is nearby. I can sense its existence. Malekith glanced at Sif and said, kill that woman. Let's go. Agram immediately left Frigga, who was doomed to die, and walked towards Sif. The seriously injured Sif barely stood up with the sword, trying to make a final resistance. Agram came in front of her. She swung the sword, but was held by Agram. Am I going to die too? Am I going to die with the Queen of Gods? At this moment, Sif's heart was calmer than ever before. It turns out that I have been ready to face death, just like the Valkyries. She thought so. Then she saw a slightly fat figure. The man raised his left hand, extended his index finger, and pointed it at the back of Agram's head. A bright light emanated from his finger and hit Agram. Finger of Death. The signature spell from Arkham and the polluter poured all its power on Agram. His hand stopped on Sif's neck, and his soul flickered. Suddenly, the fragments of ether particles in his body blocked the finger of death, sharing a lot of damage. Agram's hand continued to move. Lao Wang raised his eyebrows. He was able to block Archimonde's spell. The cursed warrior was indeed superior to the normal Thor. In terms of strength and physique alone, he was probably much stronger than the Hulk in his furious state. It was really amazing. Only Thanos and Captain Marvel could abuse such a powerful body. Of course, Thor after awakening could also do it. But that was it. In an instant, Lao Wang had arrived in front of Agram, and with a series of palms accompanied by deafening thunder, he repelled Agram. Thunder break. Lao Wang rushed forward, his fists with the fist of the heavens raining down on Agam. Agam wanted to fight back, but found that he couldn't do it at all. The finger of death still caused him a lot of damage, consuming a lot of vitality accumulated by the ether particle fragments. Lao Wang's fighting skills far surpassed his, and even his strength seemed to be not much worse than his. One force can defeat 10 skills, but Lao Wang has more than 10 more skills than him, so he can't defeat him at all, and can only retreat step by step. Fortunately, the ether particle fragments gave him an extremely strong physique, so he would not die, even if he was beaten all the time, at least not now. Who is this person, and why is he so strong? But in terms of his physical body, he is not much worse than a cursed warrior. His fighting skills are better than anyone I have ever seen. His appearance is somewhat similar to that of the Vanir, but there are subtle differences. He seems to be a Majordian. When did the Majordians become so powerful? Have the times changed, and I'm out of date? Has Midgard risen, and become the true center of the 9 realms? The ether particles. The ether particles are here. I can sense it. Malekith saw Jane Foster appearing next to the old king, sensed the ether particles in her body, and hurriedly tried to grab them, but a thunderbolt hit his intact half of the face. Thor flew over with his warhammer. Agam. Malekith was shocked. He didn't expect that there was someone in Asgard who was even more powerful than Frigga. Even 5,000 years ago, he was considered a good fighter. With these two guys blocking the way, the ether particles will definitely not be available for the time being. Let's retreat strategically first. Hearing the boss's voice, and seeing the boss in danger, Agram immediately burst out with amazing potential, forced the old king back, and then rushed to Malekith. He held Malekith, and withstood Thor's hammer, fell from the bedroom, and was hit by a tractor beam, and returned to the Dark Elf mothership. After only a few seconds, the mothership disappeared. This invisible technology, even I can't see through it. Looking at the disappearing Dark Elf mothership, the old king was jealous. In some aspects, the technology of the Dark Elves is more powerful than that of the Kree, and it is very suitable for use. Such technology is very suitable for use, and it is used in the second fleet that is still in the research and development stage. No matter how fast the mothership is, no matter how invisible it is, it may not be impossible to catch up, but it takes time. The old king now faces two choices: hunt down Malekith and eliminate the trouble forever, or stay to treat Frigga and pull her back from the brink of death. It has never been the old king's style to watch someone die without saving him. Besides, if Malekith is killed, who will take out the ether particles in Miss Jane's body? Mother. Thor walked towards Frigga with a sad face, and Odin appeared at the right time holding the Spear of Eternity. I must kill that guy. Thor swore with gritted teeth. Odin remained silent. The old king walked in front of Sif, and soothed her injured body with a soothing mist, then walked in front of Frigga and coughed. Well, actually, I can save her. Odin and Thor were both stunned. Chapter 463, Resurrection of Frigga, Part 1. After a short silence, Thor hurriedly grabbed Lao Wang's shoulders. Really? Are you telling the truth? Can you really save her? Lao Wang nodded. Young man, your grip hurts a little. Then you must save her. You must. Thor used both hands to exert force. Lao Wang nodded again. You can just grab her. Why do you need to discharge electricity? It will not only hurt, but also numb. Odin came over at this time and stared into Lao Wang's eyes. That is a cursed warrior. The fragments of ether particles give him 4 times the power of Thor. His attacks have the effect of distorting reality. Conventional treatments are useless to her. Asgard has the best healers in the 9 realms, much better than your doctors in Midgard. Conventional methods are indeed useless, so let's use unconventional methods. Lao Wang chuckled. The time stone should be unconventional enough, right? Time stone. What is that? A poor student was puzzled, and another poor student next to him also raised his hand to ask a question. We'll talk about this later. Odin looked at Lao Wang. The time stone is in the hands of the Ancient One. She is in a very bad state now. She will not use the time stone to resurrect Frigga. This is also strictly prohibited by the Supreme Masters of all generations. Time is more dangerous than you think. Who? The Ancient One? Who is she? Thor shouted with his hammer. Where is she? I'll go and beg her. No matter what conditions she puts forward, I will agree. If she doesn't agree, I will beat her until she agrees. Who to beat who? Lao Wang's face was strange. Brother Thor, you really don't know the height of the world. I can't die for the time being, and the Ancient One can't die for the time being. Odin's expression was a little sad, and a little resolute. Everyone will die. This is inevitable. Thor looked up at his father, as if he knew him for the first time. Since there is a way to save his mother, why not save her? Why? Maybe, you old people think too much. Maybe I really can't convince the Supreme Master. Lao Wang shrugged, but things like reversing time are not only possible with the time stone. There are other ways. What way? Thor asked. Odin looked at Lao Wang's chest, thinking, is it this? This artifact, or cosmic treasure, actually has the ability to manipulate time. Yes. Lao Wang replied, but it will cost a lot. No matter how much it costs. Thor immediately raised his hammer and promised, even if you want my hammer, it's fine. Odin sighed silently in his heart. Thor, you can't do this. How can I trust you to hand over Asgard to you, if you are so impulsive? I'm afraid you will destroy it. Can't you listen to their conditions first? What if they want the Eternal Spear? Should I give it to them or not? I'm really not trying to trick you. The price is really high and urgent. Lao Wang said, the longer the death time, the greater the cost of reversing time. If the time is too long, it may not be saved. You must make a decision, as soon as possible. I have decided. Thor looked at Lao Wang. Save her. Lao Wang looked at Odin. Odin was helpless. What do you want? Lao Wang laughed. Then the eternal fire. Eternal fire? It seems like I've heard it somewhere before. Thor didn't want to think too much. Anyway, it wasn't his hammer, so he quickly said, I promise. Odin, okay. You agree to it, because you know what the eternal flame is? That thing is more valuable than the icebox, and is on the same level as my eternal spear. You are really my good son. After getting the promise, Lao Wang immediately exchanged it. There are many spells for manipulating time in World of Warcraft, and the best among them are naturally the Bronze Dragon clan. Each Bronze Dragon has mastered a lot of time spells, and even has the ability to roam in the timeline. Different Bronze Dragons have different abilities. Time acceleration, time stop, time vortex. A series of abilities are shocking, and the most interesting one is time reversal. Ordinary Bronze Dragons simply cannot master the ability to make time reversal. But if it is those ancient Bronze Dragons who have lived for more than 10,000 years, it may not be impossible. Of course, Frigga was killed by the power of the ether particle fragments, which has the power to modify reality. This power is essentially on the same level as the time gem. The ancient bronze dragons may not be enough. Even the bronze dragon King Nozdormu may not be enough. But there is one thing that should be enough. Azeroth, I need to exchange for an ability of the time hourglass. The old king said, time reversal. World of Warcraft in ancient times. As a reward for the 5 dragon kings for defeating Galakrond, and also for laziness, the Titan Guardians guided the power of the Titans, and bestowed it on the 5 dragon kings. Bronze Dragon King Nozdormu was given the ability to control time. At the same time, he was also given an artifact, Time Hourglass. This is an artifact that may be more precious and powerful than the Fist of Raden. The bronze dragons can use it to manage the complicated timeline of Azeroth, and naturally have the ability to reverse time. It's a piece of cake. As soon as the old king's voice fell, an illusory projection suddenly appeared in the sky. It was an hourglass, a bronze hourglass. It was very large, and of ordinary style, not much different from an ordinary hourglass, but it made Odin look solemn. That thing might be many times more valuable than the Spear of Eternity and the Eternal Flame. The yellow light enveloped Frigga's body. Grains of sand fell slowly. Suddenly, the falling sand returned to the top of the mountain along the trajectory it had taken when it fell. Frigga's state was also slowly changing. Time was flowing backwards on her body, as if someone had used the magical skill of 3 flowers gathering at the top of the head. She was lying on the ground, and slowly stood up. The blood that had flowed out returned to her body, and the wound healed little by little. Finally, it was restored to its original state. The hourglass of time disappeared. Mother. Thor threw himself into Frigga's arms. You are alive. You are finally alive. 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 Frigga was stunned. Am I dead? Why are you here? By the way, Malekith is here. He ran away. Odin said, I will explain this later. He looked at Lao Wang. Director Wang, this is what you want. He stretched out his hand, and a ball of fire flew over from the treasury in the distance, and landed in front of Lao Wang. It is of great importance, and it must not fall into Surtur's hands. Ragnarok. I know. Lao Wang laughed, and put the eternal fire into the heart of Azeroth. The value of this thing is definitely higher than the icebox. It is a high-level artifact that can restore Surtur, who is at the level of a sub-father, to the level of a father, and he is the best among the fathers. Only a fool would give it to Surtur. Of course, there is no need to exchange it. Lao Wang plans to keep it for himself. If nothing unexpected happens, it can also enhance his own strength, which is not bad. Father of the gods, Queen of the gods, Thor, Sif, the earth is in trouble now, I should leave. Lao Wang put his arm around Miss Jane's waist and left quickly. Thor was stunned. I haven't thanked you yet. He saved my mother, so I should keep him for a few more days. I haven't seen him for a long time, and I still want to drink with him. Sif was silent. Frigga was still waiting for Thor's explanation. Why did I die? Are you hoping for my death in your heart? Odin was a little melancholy. If this goes on, the treasury will be empty before Thor succeeds to the throne. As for why Director Wang ran so fast, the other particles seem to be on him. Chapter 464 Gathering in the Dark World, Part 2. Will Odin not catch up with us? I didn't steal the ether particles. They integrated them into the body by themselves. It's none of my business. I didn't attract the Dark Elves either. They thought the ether particles were in your Asgard. It was you who defeated the Dark Elves and sealed the ether particles. Of course, when we got closer, we found that the ether particles were indeed in Asgard. This was an accident. It's really none of my business. I'm here to help you. I paid such a high price to save Frigga. It's normal for me to take a high-level artifact from you. You're welcome. He quickly ran to the nearby space-time anomaly and returned to Earth. Lao Wang took out the Eternal Flame and was in a good mood. This thing is a high-level energy condensate. In essence, it is no different from the Eternal Flame in World of Warcraft, but it is not small in size and has special effects. Although it is only a small ball, it actually has a special connection with Muspelheim, the hometown of the fire giants. The Eternal Flame can be replenished a little bit, as long as it is not used up at once. It is equivalent to having a whole planet as a backup. This is awesome. eternal fire, eternal water, eternal life. These are all at the same level, one level higher than the original fire, belonging to the highest level of element in the conventional sense, and the value is about the same as the essence of the eternal well water. With this thing, you can continuously draw eternal fire from Muspelheim. Of course, the speed of drawing is the priority. After all, Muspelheim is at most similar to the fire elemental plane of Azeroth. The total energy of that damn place is so much, and it is a little less, if you use it a little. The level of eternal fire is too high, and the speed of condensation is very slow. Otherwise, the value of this thing may have to rise to a higher level. In this way, the spirit of ashes can become stronger. A ball of flame was drawn out of Lao Wang's body and turned into the spirit of ashes. Lao Wang separated a small ball of eternal fire the size of an egg and merged it into the body of the spirit of ashes. The spirit of ashes seemed to be full, and the whole body swelled a lot, and balls of flames came out of his body, and there were signs of losing control. However, as time went by, the flame gradually converged, flowed freely, and was completely controlled by the Ember Spirit. The Ember Spirit is much stronger than the other 3 elemental spirits. Lao Wang nodded. The strength of the 4 elemental spirits is one level lower than that of the original body, and is actually still at the master level. It is no problem to deal with ordinary supervillains, but it is not enough to deal with Earth God level beings such as Thor and Hulk. The 4 of them are barely enough. But now that a small ball of eternal fire has been fused, it has actually produced a fundamental change. With Lao Wang's current cultivation, the flame of the Ember Spirit is just an ordinary elemental fire, and only a little bit of the flame core is the original fire. Now that the original fire has become the eternal fire, the strength has naturally arisen to a level, reaching the Grand Master level, that is, the level of an ordinary Earth God. In terms of energy level alone, it is already similar to the original body after the elements are separated. When the Ember Spirit completely merges with the eternal fire, it will grow to the level of Surtur at its peak, and it is not impossible to replace Surtur as the Lord of Muspelheim. Of course, this is difficult, and requires a process. You have to take it slowly and don't rush. The ice box is a little low grade, and it mainly controls ice, not pure water. Otherwise, if I give it to the water spirit, maybe the water spirit can replace Laufey and become the Lord of Jotunheim. But it doesn't matter. World of Warcraft also has corresponding good things. I can exchange them for the water spirit someday. Wang, Director Wang. Miss Jane watched Lao Wang perform for a long time, and then she couldn't help asking, "What's wrong with me?" The previous movement finally woke her up from her deep sleep, and she didn't understand what happened. Didn't I go to check the time and space anomaly? Why am I here? Listen to me, and I will explain it slowly. It took Lao Wang half an hour to restore the whole process. Miss Jane was very moved. "Wang, you saved me? I have to keep saving." Lao Wang said apologetically, "Sorry, you may have to take a risk. My plan is this." He repeated his plan, and Miss Jane nodded without hesitation. "I'll listen to you." She agreed so quickly. Lao Wang said, Let's go see how Dr. Eric is doing. We have found several places." On the streets of London, Dr. Eric, who was carried around by Quicksilver with a machine in his arms, said, "2 lead to Asgard, 1 leads to the underworld of Helheim, 2 lead to Jotunheim. There is also 1 leading to Svartheim, and 3 lead to other places of the world tree. But I'm not sure where the Dark Elves will come from." "That's easy." Lao Wang smiled and said, "Just close all the others, and leave only 1, right?" The doctor was stunned. "What you said makes sense. But these space-time anomalies are very large, and not easy to close. In the words of the East, this job is equivalent to new amending the sky. The bigger the hole in the sky, the more colorful divine stones are needed, and the more difficult it is to repair." He is confident that he can deal with small holes, but there is no way to deal with such a big hole. "I'll do this." Under the leadership of the doctor, Lao Wang found those places and closed them one by one with the space gems, leaving only the one leading to Svartheim. "Wukong, let the first fleet wait on the other side, all in invisible state. As long as the Dark Elf spacecraft wants to pass, open fire at full force and leave no one alive." Lao Wang put his arm around Miss Jane's waist. "Let's go." Asgard. Sif told everything that happened before, and Frigga understood. "So I did die, but Director Wang saved me?" Why does his cosmic treasure feel more powerful than the Infinity Stone? We have to thank the king, my good brother. Thor was very moved. He saved you, but he only asked for the eternal fire, not even my hammer. He is so good. He deserves to be my good brother. Eternal fire. Frigga looked at Odin. I have never seen you so generous. You really care about me. Odin's eyes were helpless, and he glanced at Thor. Frigga understood and couldn't help sighing in her heart. Thor, you didn't study hard when you were young. You don't even know what the eternal fire is, and you don't even know which artifact is more valuable, you loser. Your broken hammer, as long as you tell the dwarf king Etri, it's not difficult to get 10 or 8, but the eternal fire is unique in the universe. There is no comparison at all. Thor obviously doesn't care about this. He held the hammer, his face full of anger. Malekith dared to attack Asgard, killed so many people, and killed you. I must kill him, and make him pay the price of his life for his actions. No. Odin and Frigga said in unison. Why? Thor was puzzled. We in Asgard have been bullied, so how can we endure it? I'm tired. Odin's expression was exhausted. I no longer have the strength to hunt down the Dark Elves. Most of his strength was used to maintain the Seal of Hela. Although the remaining small amount of strength was not weak, it was just so-so. Moreover, Odin's sleep had already begun. He was just forcing himself not to sleep, and he couldn't hold on for long. We can't fight now. As long as we fight, and use too much divine power, we will immediately enter Odin's sleep. We must hold on until the end of the gathering of the 9 realms. Otherwise what if Hela escapes? Child, listen to your mother. Some things are eternal pain in Odin's heart, and he can't explain them to Thor. The existence of Hela is a taboo. Only the elderly in the whole Asgard have an impression of it, and basically they will not tell young people. So young people now think Thor is their eldest son. In fact, all his children had died long ago. Thor and Loki were both adopted sons, and Hela was Odin's eldest daughter. Thor was only 1,000 years old, and Odin was 5,000 years old, who would give birth to their first child at the age of 4,000. This truth is understood by everyone except fools, but some people are really fools. Frigga understood her husband's dilemma and said softly, the ether particles are in the hands of Director Wang. There will be a battle between him and Malekith. He will help me kill Malekith. Okay. Thor didn't listen to Odin, but he had to listen to Frigga's words. At least he couldn't object on the surface. As for what happened behind the scenes, Heimdall. Odin's voice reached the distant Rainbow Bridge temple. Close the Rainbow Bridge, block the entire Asgard, and don't allow anyone to enter or leave. Thor's expression froze. There was no way. Wait, maybe there is another way. Thor's brain was working fast, and he thought so seriously for the first time in his life. Malekith killed his mother. He must die. Director Wang and Malekith must fight. That cursed warrior is so strong that Director Wang may be in danger. He is my brother. I must help him, and I can't let him bear the wrath of Malekith for Asgard. He is innocent, and he also saved his mother. Although the Rainbow Bridge is closed, there is more than one secret passage to leave Asgard, and one person must know it. Yes, that's it. Chapter 465, Thor's Accident, Part 3. Somewhere in Svartheim, space twisted, and Lao Wang and Jian walked out of the void. Looking around, it was dark and desolate. This is no longer a planet suitable for living. Asgard was really cruel back then. It directly destroyed the entire planet to ensure that all the Dark Elves died in this way. This is a war of genocide. The old God King is much more cruel than Odin. The real big guys are cruel, and every one of them is kind. How do you feel? Lao Wang asked. The gravity here seems to be a little bigger than the Earth, but it's not much bigger. It doesn't matter. Jian replied. Lao Wang nodded, expressing his relief. In fact, this place is not suitable for humans at all. All humans who come here accidentally died, and no one survived. But there are other particles in Jian's body, so even if he is thrown into space, nothing will happen. The other particles are protecting the host, so that it can continue to absorb the host's vitality. Wang, where should we find Malekith? Jian asked. No need to look for it, just wait here. Lao Wang smiled. He will come to us. Another place 100,000 kilometers away. In the Dark Elf flagship floating in space, Malekith and Agram were healing in special equipment. The Dark Elf flagship continuously drew energy from Svartheim itself and injected it into their bodies, quickly recovering from the damage caused by the Old King, Frigga and Thor. We have to attack Asgard immediately and seize the ether particles. After the treatment, Agrum walked in front of Malekith. They didn't expect us to go back. This is the best opportunity. No, there is no need to go to Asgard. Malekith opened his eyes and turned his head to look in the direction of Svartheim. The ether came to our door. The spacecraft started and soon arrived 100,000 kilometers away and landed steadily on the ground. Follow me. Malekith led the way, bringing Agrum and hundreds of Dark Elf elites to the Old King. He waved his hand, and the Dark Elves surrounded the Old King. Midgardians, your death is coming. No nonsense, just do it. Death. It's your death. The Old King immediately fought back and had a good fight with Agrum. The two of them punched and kicked each other, which was no different from a fight between shrews. Of course, Lao Wang showed stronger skills, but Agam was more powerful. In addition, there were hundreds of Dark Elves to assist, and Lao Wang's situation was getting worse and worse. The energy weapons of the Dark Elves were obviously much more powerful than those of the Chitauri. Occasionally, Lao Wang felt very painful and uncomfortable when they were shot in the body. Even more powerful was another weapon, the black hole bomb. It looked very ordinary. Once the bomb exploded, it could create a small black hole that swallowed up all matter and life. Once swallowed, even beings of the level of the Curse Warrior might not survive. The reason why it was said that it was not certain was that in the memory, although the Curse Warrior was sucked away by the black hole bomb and did not come back, no one knew whether he was dead or not. Anyway, Lao Wang did not want to try, so he could only dodge. The situation was worse. On the other side, Malekith walked towards Jane step by step. He suddenly raised his right hand, and Jane floated into the air. A terrible suction came, and the ether particles peeled off from her body and flew towards Malekith. The ether particles were the reality gems, the most realistic of all gems. It wants to show its strength and reflect its value, so it will transfer from a weak host to a strong host. Malekith, who knows a lot about ether particles, is of course more interesting to it than Miss Jane. More importantly, just like the Supreme Sorcerer knows the Eye of Agamotto, Malekith also knows a lot about ether particles and can directly manipulate ether particles when the distance is not too far. This kind of big man who can dominate the universe is indeed extraordinary and should not be underestimated. In less than 2 minutes, the ether particles were completely peeled off and Jane fell to the ground. Now, Lao Wang was about to make a move when he suddenly sensed a powerful energy approaching. He looked up and saw a lightning bolt coming from the sky and hitting the ether particles. The two terrifying forces collided and soon turned into blood-red smoke. The smoke dissipated and the ether particles turned into countless fragments and scattered on the ground. Bang! Thor and Loki descended from the sky and strode towards Malekith. You killed my mother. I want you to die. He gave Lao Wang a proud look. Brother, you are not good enough. You were almost beaten to death by the Cursed Warrior. Fortunately I came in time and saved you. You are welcome. As soon as Thor finished speaking, he saw the fragments of ether particles floating up, turning into flowing liquid, flying towards Malekith. Some of the fragments were under Malekith's feet, and he absorbed a lot in less than a second. Fuck, Thor, you are doing a disservice. Lao Wang was helpless. I was acting. No skills were used. You can't see that. He slapped Agrum away and rushed towards Malekith. Malekith's face changed drastically. The time was too short. He just had time to absorb a small half of the ether particles. That guy was too strong, and his strength was several times stronger than before. He was hiding his strength and fell into the trap. Agrum was still far away, and there was no time to rescue him. Malekith decisively stopped absorbing and rushed towards the mothership while using the power of ether particles to stop Lao Wang. More than a dozen Dark Elves threw black hole bombs, which exploded in midair and turned into small black holes. Lao Wang did not dare to rush in, so he could only take a detour. As a result, he saw a tractor beam fall on Malekith, pulling him to the mothership and then flying into the sky. At this time, Agrum rushed over, and Lao Wang had to turn around and fight back, full of resentment towards Thor. What the hell? If Thor hadn't discharged electricity, causing an explosion to block himself and delay the best opportunity, wouldn't it be enough to kill Malekith directly? The mothership was too fast and invisible, so it would definitely not be able to catch up. Helplessly, Lao Wang had to slap Agram away again, and shouted at the same time, "Thor, this guy's up to you. Loki, clean up the minions." Thor originally planned to chase Malekith, but now after hearing Lao Wang's words, he knew that he would definitely not catch up, so he had to turn around to fight Agram. Loki didn't know what he was thinking, and soon he followed to fight the soldiers. This guy was very strong in fighting, and his fighting style was exactly the same as Frigga's. Those soldiers were really no match for him, and it was easy to clean them up. The other side was in a worse situation. Thor was abused by Agram, and he had no ability to fight back. From childhood to adulthood, this was the first time he had been so miserable. The destroyer armor was no match for him, but now he was completely abused by a cursed warrior, which aroused his fighting spirit. Unfortunately, fighting spirit is useless, and he will be abused if he should be abused. Even Thor's hammer was knocked away by Agram, which was the first time in history. This shows that Odin's spell on Thor's hammer is ineffective against him. This is certainly not because Agram's strength has surpassed Odin, but the special effect of the ether particle fragments. Odin's spell did not work, Thor's strength dropped by half, and he was no match for Agram. Lao Wang didn't care about them. Thor was thick-skinned and could not die for the time being. Loki is the god of trickery, and he cannot die. Even if he dies, it is probably a fake death. It doesn't matter if he dies for real. Lao Wang doesn't care. He walked in front of the ether particle. Chapter 466. What is that? Part 1. The ether is the most special of the infinity stones, and can be divided into countless pieces. 5,000 years ago, Malekith separated a large number of fragments, created hundreds of cursed warriors, killed hundreds of thousands of Asgard elites, and crippled the arrogant Asgardians. It was that battle that established the authority of Asgard, and made it the most powerful country in the 9 realms. Not long ago, the last fragment was used to turn Agram into the most powerful cursed warrior in history. The ether particles will not be destroyed. After the death of the cursed warriors, those fragments will return to the main force, and merge into one. Malekith absorbed a small half of the ether particles, and most of it was left. This thing seems to like Malekith very much and actually wants to fly over to find him. Other things can be tolerated, but this is really unbearable. Lao Wang immediately stopped it with his true energy and put it into the Heart of Azeroth. The ether is just a manifestation of the royalty gem. Malekith absorbed it into his body, which was actually inferior to Thanos. He did not get the corresponding ancient knowledge at all, but only explored it with his own ability. It is worthy of encouragement, but it is really not good. Of course, there is another reason. Thanos is strong enough to use the power of the royalty gem directly. Malekith is too weak, so he can only use the power of the ether, and he has to pay a heavy price. Lao Wang does not have so much ancient knowledge, and he can't take care of the ether for the time being. He can only throw it into the Heart of Azeroth, and wait for the future. On the other side, Thor was lying on the ground, being beaten by Agram. He could only watch the fists fall on his face one by one. It was painful and sore, but there was no bleeding. With the power of Asgard, his physique is at the same level as the Hulk. He has amazing resistance to beatings, and is not afraid of blunt blows at all. At this time Loki, who had already dealt with the soldiers, grabbed a dark elf spear and stabbed Agram from behind. Nothing happened. As long as the ether particle fragments are still there, he will not die. Agram turned around quickly and gave Loki a bear hug. The spear on his chest pierced Loki's body and then pushed Loki away. No. Thor felt upset. My brother is going to die. See you in hell, monster. Loki didn't seem to be afraid at all and sneered. Look behind you. Agram couldn't see behind him, of course, but he could feel what was there. A black hole bomb was attached to his back and was about to explode. The next moment he would be sucked away by the small black hole and then die after the ether particle fragments exhausted his life. Loki's face showed a satisfied smile. I, Loki, killed the cursed warrior, and you, Thor, can only be defeated by the cursed warrior. Suddenly a hand fell on Agram's back, took off the black hole bomb at a very fast speed, and threw it 100 meters away. The bomb exploded, but took nothing away. What are you doing? Thor and Loki were both stunned. Is Director Wang stupid, or is he actually in the same group with Malekith and the Cursed Warrior? Don't make a fuss, this guy is still useful. Lao Wang used all his strength to beat Agrum in all directions, which made Thor stunned. How did Director Wang become so strong? He was obviously not as good as me before. No, this is not the key. The key is he killed Loki. Thor roared. Loki was lying on the ground, his face pale, and it seemed that he could not hold on for much longer. His lips trembled, as if he had something to say to Thor. Thor rushed over and hugged his brother. Tears were about to fall. He is not dead. Lao Wang took the time to say. Yes, he is not dead yet. Thor's eyes lit up. You can save him. You can save your mother. Of course you can save him. Save. Lao Wang snorted. You'd better take a closer look at what he is. He took the time to slap Loki and Loki disappeared. Thor was stunned. Illusion? Loki left a long time ago. Lao Wang was not interested in Thor and continued to fight. Agrum still has strength, a solid second echelon, sub-father level. Even if he was thrown in front of Thanos, he could probably hold out for a while, allowing Thanos to fight for a while longer. Even the finger of death couldn't kill him, and Lao Wang had no other choice but to waste time and use fighting to speed up the loss of Agrum's life. After fighting for an hour, Agrum's life was exhausted and he died. A wisp of ether particles floated out automatically, and then Lao Wang collected it into the Heart of Azeroth. By the way, Agrum's body was also collected. What should we do next? Thor asked. Only Loki knows a secret passage. The Rainbow Bridge is closed, and we can't leave here. Not to mention that there are time and space anomalies everywhere here. As long as we find the right one, we can return to Asgard or Earth. Lao Wang took out the space gem. There is no teleportation blockade here. Where in the entire universe can't we go? Thor was overjoyed. Lao Wang tilted his head and asked, where are you going? I'm going to hunt down Malekith and take back the remaining ether particles. He stole my things and must return them. Then I'll go with you and help you. Thor said decisively. Lao Wang nodded. You said it. I don't care about Loki. Let him do whatever he wants. Finally leaving Svartheim, finding a random jump point to leave this starry sky, Malekith was still in shock. Who is that man? He is so powerful that Agrum is unlikely to be able to stop him. Forget it. Agrum was going to die anyway, and helping him escape successfully before he died was also a valuable death. Agrum, when I return the entire universe to darkness, it will be equivalent to revenge for you. He thought so, closed his eyes, and sensed the ether particles in his body. The ether particles continued to flow in his body, and Malekith felt hungry. That was the hunger of the ether particles. It longed to show its power. It needs to keep swallowing to become stronger. If it swallowed any of the 9 realms, its power would become incredible, and no one in the entire universe could resist it, and destroying Odin would be a piece of cake. And if it swallowed the 9 realms and the entire world tree, it would have power beyond imagination, and it would not be difficult to turn the entire universe into a dark world. By then, the Dark Elves will be the rulers of the entire universe, and unprecedented glory is about to come. It's too late to find a place to devour. The 9 realms are about to begin. I must go to Midgard immediately. Although he hadn't started devouring yet, Malekith still felt that he had become stronger, several times stronger than before. Find a jump point and go to Earth, Malekith ordered. Suddenly, a dark elf pointed to the front and said, what is that? Malekith looked up. A huge black spaceship appeared in the starry sky not far away. Chapter 467. Who is plotting against whom? Part 2. The black spaceship has hard lines, similar to the owner's personality. The Dark Elf flagship is already very large, not much smaller than Odin's palace in Asgard, but in front of this spaceship, it is completely dwarfed. It overlooks the Dark Elf flagship like a giant, bringing great pressure to Malekith. Malekith does not recognize this spaceship. He has been sleeping for 5,000 years, and has no idea about the current universe. Enter combat mode. Whether it is an enemy or a friend, you must first prepare for battle. The size of the spaceship is only one of the more important parameters. Who can beat whom depends on whose technology is better. The Dark Elves have a long lifespan that exceeds that of the Asgardians. They have enough time to learn. Although the technology tree is more twisted, it has climbed very fast. Even in the vast universe, it is not bad. Malekith is very confident in his flagship. It's just a fight. Maybe we can capture a large spaceship. Leader, there is an external communication request, said a Dark Elf. The other party wants to talk. Malekith pondered for a moment. Connect. A huge floating throne immediately appeared on the screen in front of him, with its back facing him. It slowly turned around, and a purple giant in golden armor appeared in front of him. Malekith was stunned. There is such a species in the universe? So ugly. It turned out to be a Dark Elf. The purple potato elf thought for a few seconds, and found a species that should have been extinct from his memory. Is your leader Malekith still alive? He actually knew me. It seems that even after 5,000 years, I'm still very famous in the universe. Malekith was vaguely happy, and felt much better. He asked back, I'm Malekith, who are you? Thanos, the leader of the Dark Order. Thanos said, the Dark Order? When Malekith heard the name, he felt a little familiar. No wonder the spaceship was black in color. It turned out that everyone was from the Dark Camp. So he asked, Thanos, what are you doing here? The 9 realms are gathering. I'm very interested in Asgard and Earth, which is what you call Midgard, so I came to take a look. Thanos answered. In fact, he mainly came to observe the situation to see if Odin would die, and if there was a chance to cause trouble. Very interested? Malekith immediately became alert. What kind of interest? I have a grudge against Asgard and Earth. Thanos said, Asgard stole one of my gloves, and Earth killed one of my most trusted men, as well as part of my army. In fact, he really wanted to get the Infinity Gauntlet collected by Odin, but that thing was in Odin's treasury. He didn't dare to attack until Odin died, so he came here this time, to find out the situation first, and see if he could go to Nidavellir and have a good chat with the dwarves. Malekith's eyes lit up. There is a grudge, which is great. It can be used. This is normal. With the warlike character of the Asgardians, there are countless enemies in the universe. Now one of them comes to the door. It is not surprising at all. He deliberately pondered for a moment and said, maybe we can join forces to destroy Asgard and Midgard. Since you know the Dark Elves, you should know that I have a grudge against them, and it is an irreconcilable feud. I know. Thanos said, how can we cooperate? You only have one spaceship, and all the Dark Elves add up to less than 1,000. Compared with Asgard and Earth, you are far behind. This is the truth. Although Malekith has a small part of the other particles on hand, this treasure must not be known to the purple potato spirit on the opposite side. Otherwise, what if the other party knows what the other particles are, and has bad intentions? But I'm not strong here, but you are not that strong either. Isn't it just one spaceship? Leader, the other side has more than one spaceship. A Dark Elf whispered, there are still many spaceships hidden behind, using stealth technology, but the technology is not as good as ours, and we have detected them. How many? Malekith asked with his eyes. The Dark Elf pointed to a small screen. There were hundreds of them. There were numbers on each spaceship, showing the number of life forms, ranging from a few thousand to tens of thousands, adding up to millions. This was almost the same as the peak of the Dark Elves. In addition, although the life forms were not as strong as the Dark Elves, they were not weak either. They used genetic and mechanical transformation technology, and should not be underestimated. Cooperation is based on the fact that both sides are equally strong. How can they cooperate if one side is too strong and the other is too weak? Malekith thought for a while and said, although I don't have many people, each of them is an elite. How strong are they? Thanos seemed very interested. Like this. Malekith made a gesture, and his men immediately played the video. It was a previous battle video, showing Agrum killing people in Asgard. Not bad. Thanos had actually guessed what was going on a long time ago, but he pretended not to know. What is that? How many do you have? Cursed warriors, 10. Although there was none now, as long as he was willing to spend the money, he could build as many as he wanted, provided there were enough Dark Elves. Not enough. Thanos is probably one of the most knowledgeable people in the entire universe, and he has conducted in-depth research on the 9 realms, so he knows the strength of the Curse Warriors. They are really good in close combat, on the same level as the Black Dwarfs under his command, but they don't have any long-range attack methods, and they can't manipulate energy attacks. It's not easy to kill them, but it's very simple to deal with them. Whether it's exile, imprisonment, or entanglement, it's not very difficult. Just throw them into space, and they'll float, and they won't float back. At this level, let alone myself, Ebony Maw can easily kill 10 of them. Then 100. Malekith gritted his teeth. I can use some means to induce birth, but it will cost a lot. Although this will consume a lot of other particles, it doesn't matter. As long as the Curse Warriors die, the other particles can be recycled naturally. They can be recycled actively, even if they are not dead. But once the Curse Warriors are recycled, they will die. It also takes time to separate the other particles to create Curse Warriors. The 9 realms are about to begin, and now only 100 can be created, no more. That's enough. Thanos said expressionlessly. What are you going to do? Attack Midgard together? Malekith had already thought of how to fool Thanos. Midgard is far inferior to Asgard, and is easier to deal with. Destroy Midgard. Use Midgard as a springboard, and then attack Asgard. Very good. Thanos said, I will send someone to help you. Hundreds of Chitauri spaceships approached from behind. You're not going? Malekith pretended to be surprised. I have other things to do. Thanos didn't want to die, unless the Ancient One died first. At this time, Odin and the Ancient One's eyes were focused on Malekith. It was just right to go to Nidavelli to hang out, and negotiate friendly cooperation with the dwarves. What a pity. Malekith secretly breathed a sigh of relief. That guy looked very powerful at first glance. Once he found out that he wanted to plunge the entire universe into darkness, he would definitely turn against him. It was just right that he didn't come. Very good. Temple Second turned around and disappeared, and a ring-shaped spaceship jumped from somewhere unknown. The other 2 people appeared on the big screen. One of them was tall and thin, and looked very ugly, while the other was tall and mighty, and looked even uglier. Malekith, I'm Ebony Maw, and he is Black Dwarf. Ebony Maw said slowly, I'm responsible for cooperating with you. I have a few suggestions for this war. What suggestions? Malekith knew at a glance that Ebony Maw must be Thanos' think tank, and there was no threat. Black Dwarf was Thanos' thug, and he was big, but not necessarily strong, and might not be a match for the Cursed Warriors. This is easy to deal with. The convergence of the 9 realms has created weak points between the 9 worlds. Since we want to attack Asgard and the Earth, we should unite more allies. Ebony Maw said, Odin is tyrannical and cruel, and the people of the 9 realms have suffered for a long time. As long as you can come forward to contact the leaders of other worlds, we can join forces to destroy Asgard and the Earth. This is the best opportunity. Malekith's mind moved. He has been busy since he woke up, and he really didn't expect this. Ebony Maw is indeed a think tank, with brains. He thought carefully. The Vanir and the dwarves are Asgard's staunch allies, so don't even think about it. The Light Elves are the mortal enemies of the Dark Elves, so don't even think about it. But the Frost Giants, Fire Giants, and Undead can be won over. The 4 worlds will attack Asgard and Midgard together. Malekith clenched his fists, and I will take this opportunity to release the ether particles and devour the 9 realms. Chapter 468 The final battle begins. Part 3. Earth, London. Lao Wang, Thor and Jane appear. Earth is so beautiful. Coming to Earth again. Thor has many feelings in his heart. I really want to stay on Earth instead of Asgard. It's beautiful there, but it's a little monotonous and unreal. I don't like fighting and killing. I really don't want to. Lao Wang doesn't know what to say. You have to have someone believe what you say. If even Thor didn't want to fight and kill, the universe would have been peaceful long ago, and I could watch the sun rise in a quiet universe. I'll slowly sigh about it later. Now I have other things to do. Lao Wang asked, Eve, how is the situation now? A soft voice sounded. There are as many as 2,856 time-space anomalies discovered in the world, connecting the entire world tree. There is no pattern and they are still increasing at a very fast speed. Moreover, the locations of the time-space anomalies are constantly changing. According to calculations, there are still 6 hours before the 9 realms converge. The Bureau of Divine Sticks, SHIELD and local governments are all dispatched to isolate all time-space anomalies, mobilize a large number of armed forces, and eliminate other creatures that emerge from the time-space anomalies. Quicksilver and Dr. Eric, as well as the mages of Kamataj, are doing their best to close the time-space anomalies, but the speed is limited. The closing speed is only 1/10 of the speed of opening new ones. The first fleet has arrived at the designated location and is waiting for the enemy to arrive. All the Avengers are dispatched under the command of Captain Rogers and are putting out fires everywhere. All members of the faction have assembled and are waiting for your orders. Lao Wang nodded. The efficiency is quite high. With such a large battle, there is naturally nothing to be afraid of. The Earth can be completely defended to ensure that there will not be too much trouble. Everything was going in a good direction. Let the superheroes go to various places to help. I don't need them here, Lao Wang ordered. Thor, wait for me. Lao Wang sent Miss Jane to the astronomical laboratory and returned soon. Let's go find Malekith. He took out the space gem and teleported to a desolate space. Where is the fleet you mentioned? Thor looked around and saw nothing. Lao Wang snapped his fingers. Everything emerged from invisibility. Thor opened his mouth wide. What he saw was the golden and red Schengen, and as many as 30 spaceships. These new spaceships, upgraded from Chitauri spaceships, have improved their performance in all aspects. All of them are piled together, occupying an area of almost 100,000 cubic kilometers, which looks really shocking. What a powerful fleet. It was the first time Thor saw this Ledoop. In comparison, Asgard spaceships were much shabby, and they were 1 or 2 levels lower in all aspects. Asgard has gone astray. It should also develop such technology. He thought to himself. Asgard continues the ancient tradition. Everything depends on Asgard itself, and Asgard's divine power is the primary productive force. With so many years of civilization, if it had insisted on technological development and had almost unlimited divine power as energy, it might have had a fleet of this scale. Unfortunately, the Asgardians live too well and too comfortably, thinking only of eating and sleeping all day, and are too lazy. It's not too late to develop now. Lao Wang glanced at Thor. Asgard's resources are so good, it's really embarrassing to use them like this. It's because the conditions are so good that they can be awesome without technology, so they are not interested in developing technology. After all, no matter how powerful the spaceship is, it still can't stop Odin's eternal spear. So how can they develop technology? Keep invisible, Lao Wang ordered, and soon sensed the fluctuations in space. The enemy is coming. Get ready. As soon as the voice fell, he saw spaceships appearing from the jump point. The Dark Elf flagship was naturally in the front. Lao Wang was about to order an attack when he saw another spaceship appear behind. It was a ring-shaped spaceship with a radius of about 200 meters. It looked very majestic and technological. Why does it feel so familiar? Lao Wang searched his memory and quickly thought of a certain scene. Thanos' spaceship? Thanos is here too? Did the Dark Order and the Dark Elves join forces? If so, there would not be only this few coming. Sure enough, more spaceships appeared from the jump point, and they were actually Chitauri spaceships. There were hundreds of them. It seemed that they had been upgraded and were more powerful than before. What does Thanos want to do? Launch a general attack on the Earth? Lao Wang was puzzled. Temple number 2 didn't come, sending his men to die. What was he thinking? Wukong, prepare for battle. Fortunately, the first fleet was sent here, otherwise such a strong army would descend on the Earth with the help of the 9 realms. I'm afraid that the entire civilization would be destroyed, which is more terrible than Avengers 1 and Avengers 2 combined. The damage caused to the Earth's civilization is enough to rival Thanos' snap. Also, immediately assemble all members of the conferred gods and let Wanda teleport them over. There were too many enemies, so he had to find helpers. Launch weapon system. Prepare for attack. Eve has been notified to call for the conferred gods. Received news from Eve. More than 100 time and space anomalies have been breached. The enemies are frost giants, fire giants and undead. The total number exceeds 10,000. And is still increasing. Frost giants, Fire dragons and three-headed dogs of hell have been discovered. London is in danger. New York is in danger. Tokyo is in danger. 32 places around the world are in danger. External communication request from the Dwarf King Etri. Every word was like a hammer, hitting Lao Wang's heart. Damn Malekith, not only united with Thanos, but also united with frost giants, fire giants and undead. Strange, where did he get his brain? Did Thanos take the initiative to find him and give him advice? No need to come to the conferred gods, go to various places for support immediately. My request is not to stop those guys, but to completely destroy them. Don't worry about Helheim and the underworld, just go straight into Jotunheim and Muspelheim. Lao Wang was in a bad mood. If it weren't for that old man nodding saying that the 9 realms cannot be destroyed and that the most important thing for a person is to be kind, and if it weren't for him repeatedly trying to stop it, Lao Wang would have destroyed the frost giants and put an end to the trouble forever. It's not too late now. Connect Etri. Lao Wang took out the communicator. The projection of the Dwarf King Etri appeared. Director Wang, do you remember our alliance treaty? Etri's voice was urgent. Thanos is here and will arrive in Nidavelli soon. I asked Asgard for help, but Asgard is under blockade and no news can be transmitted. Now, we can only rely on you. Lao Wang clenched his fists. Thanos actually took the opportunity to talk business with the dwarves. It seems that it's time to practice. Lao Wang said in a deep voice. Wukong, Thor, this is up to you. Hold on a little longer, I'll be back soon. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 469, Finally Meeting Thanos, Part 1. Nidavelli. This ancient country welcomed an uninvited guest. Temple II stopped outside the starring and projected a white light. Thanos appeared. He didn't bring anyone with him. Gamora and Nebula were on a mission with Accuser Onan. Supergiant was dead. Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf accompanied Malekith to the Earth to make trouble. General Corvus Glaive and Proxima Midnight were also very busy. There were so many planets to be destroyed and so many intelligent creatures to be slaughtered in the universe. He could only do it himself. It didn't matter. Nidavelli was just a place with only a few hundred dwarves left. He could sweep it all by himself, easily. Thanos walked towards the Dwarf King Etri step by step. Although he didn't say a word, his momentum still made Etri nervous. Although he was taller than them, looked stronger than them, his head was several times bigger than them, and he lived longer. But it's useless. You have to be nervous when you should be nervous, and you have to be afraid when you should be afraid. It's not just a fear at the soul level, but a fear that can cause biological instincts, just like a mouse seeing a cat, a monkey seeing a tiger, and a man seeing a tigress. Thanos, one of the most powerful men in the universe. His power is beyond imagination, and the dwarves have no way to deal with him. Director Wang hasn't come yet. What should I do? Etri. Thanos had a loud voice as always, and his voice was deep. I need a glove that can make 6 infinite gems work at the same time. I know you made one for Odin, and I need a second one. What do you want the glove for? Etri was shocked and angry. No one knows what Thanos wants to do. Every time he arrives on a planet, he will kill half of the people. This seems to be his hobby. No one can guess his purpose. He doesn't seem to kill for the sake of killing. Men are usually crazy about women. Is he trying to please a woman who is even crazier than him? You don't need to know. Thanos walked up to Etri and said, give me the glove, and I will spare all of you. Are you telling the truth? A glimmer of hope emerged in Etri's heart. Of course it's true. Thanos looked up behind Etri before he finished speaking. A powerful spatial fluctuation appeared, and then a person walked out of the void. Sensing the abnormality behind him, Etri turned around quickly. Seeing who was coming, he instantly felt more at ease, and tears were about to flow out. Director Wang, you are finally here. If you don't come again, I will agree to Thanos' conditions. He lied to you. Old Wang said, his goal is to kill half of the creatures in the entire universe and alleviate the population crisis in this universe. It's actually quite sacred, but the method is too rough and intolerable. Director Wang. Seeing the person coming, Thanos immediately had the corresponding information in his mind. Kunlun's immortal Iron Fist, a friend of the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One, the director of SHIELD, one of the most powerful heroes on Earth, and the mastermind behind the killing of Superstar and the destruction of the Chitauri fleet. A shameless person who dug himself in to find Carol Danvers. You actually know my purpose. Thanos was a little surprised. He had never told anyone about this purpose. Maybe someone could guess it, but at most it would be his capable subordinates, such as Gamora and Ebony Maw. The man in front of him actually knew it. How did he do it? Did the Sorcerer Supreme Ancient One tell him? Look, he admitted it. Lao Wang walked to Etri and said with his head tilted. Etri's face was very ugly. Thanos, you liar. You said you would spare us, but you actually want to kill half of us? At least half of them can survive. Thanos said, if he doesn't agree to my request, everyone will die. I regard this behavior as mercy, absolute mercy without any personal feelings. TSK, you are kidding. Lao Wang sneered. For other planets and other civilizations, you will treat them very fairly and only kill half of them. But you won't spare any of the dwarves, because you don't want others to know your secrets, and you don't want the dwarves to build artifacts for others to deal with you. In the entire universe, are there any people who are better at building artifacts than the dwarves? No. Etri's face became even uglier. You won't leave any for me? Thanos, you and I are irreconcilable. Thanos was not too surprised that Lao Wang actually guessed his plan. This is normal, and smart people can think of it. But it doesn't matter. At most, I can find a way to brainwash the dwarves, which is not difficult. Not all. Thanos said, for the person who helps me build the gloves, I will keep him alive, but I will only cut off his hand, so that he can no longer build artifacts for anyone. Etri gnashed his teeth. Living alone in this desolate universe, without a single tribe member, is more painful than killing him. Thanos, you butcher, cosmic butcher. Actually, there is one thing I have never understood. Lao Wang humbly asked, why do you have to reduce the population of the universe by half? In fact, with your IQ, you should understand that this method is useless. It's only half of the people. If they give birth faster, they will return in a few decades. This reminds me. Thanos thought, I'm not the nanny of the universe. It is already very kind to buy it a few decades. I originally planned to destroy the Infinity Stones after doing all this, but your reminder changed my mind. I will eliminate 90% of the population, so that the universe can be quiet and peaceful for hundreds of years. Lao Wang. He sighed, you are wrong and useless. Thanos was unmoved. If I think it is useful, then it is useful. Is there any other better way? Lao Wang, it seems not. Really not. Family planning? There are so many races in the universe. Can you implement it? Moreover, some races have dozens, hundreds, and thousands of people in a nest. If they are not allowed to exercise, they will die. How do you plan? Make a wish to reduce the birth rate of all races by half, or even less? For some races with poor living conditions, this is no different from genocide, and for those races that can reproduce, it doesn't make much sense. Isn't this unfair? How can we show the absolute fairness and kindness of Thanos, the director of the Universal Family Planning Commission? Other methods are useless. Killing people seems to be the most direct and simplest. It seems that I can't convince you. Lao Wang sighed. No one can convince me. Thanos replied. I have another question. Lao Wang asked. The last one. Thanos said. You must know what Malekith is thinking. He wants to use the ether particles to turn the entire universe into a dark world. This will cause the extinction of species throughout the universe, which is probably not what you want to see, right? Lao Wang was puzzled. You actually cooperated with him? Aren't you afraid that he will destroy you in the end? There are many reasons. Thanos said. First, he and I are not cooperating, but using each other. He used me to attack the Earth, and I used him to weaken the Earth's vitality, test the status of the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One and Odin, attract their attention, and take the opportunity to find the dwarves, and ask them to make gloves for me. Second, Malekith cannot succeed because the Supreme Sorcerer Ancient One will not allow it. Even if the Ancient One is really in a bad state and cannot be stopped, Ebony Maw and Black Dwarf will kill him at the critical moment. Even if the two of them can't do it, it takes time to use the Ether Particles. I can go and find him and kill him at any time. Third, even if he succeeds, I can survive in the Dark World, and it will be more convenient to collect Infinity Stones. At that time, I can restore the universe to its original state, and then destroy half or 90% of it. Although the process is different, the result is the same. That's enough. Lao Wang nodded. So that's how it is. It's pretty much what he thought. Malekith is just a piece of cake. He is definitely not as good as the living amethyst. Even with the ether, he can never be a match for Thanos. In front of Malekith, Thanos is the father. So that's how it is. Lao Wang took out the Fist of the Heavens. So, shall we start fighting? Chapter 470 Storm Guardian, Part 2. The battlefield was outside Nidavellir, on a desolate planet. Both of them understood the destructive power of the other. What if Nidavellir was destroyed? They both wanted to build a magic weapon. Anyway, the winner takes all. There is no point in destroying Nidavellir to disgust the other party. Nidavellir is the best, but not the only one. If it doesn't work, just spend more time to find another one. Even if technology is used, the Infinity Gauntlet can be made. Letting the dwarves build it is just the fastest way. Since the fight has started, there is no need to talk nonsense. Both of them are in a hurry. Once Odin recovers, Thanos will have to run, otherwise he will die if it is delayed for too long. Lao Wang is also worried that the First Fleet will not be able to hold on. The opponent will be difficult to deal with. Without the help of the gods, Thor alone is really not good. He is too weak. Lao Wang took the lead. There is no point in using too many tricks to deal with Thanos. The elemental spirits are useless and mental attacks are meaningless. This guy has extremely strong energy resistance and his mental will is definitely at the forefront of the entire universe. He cannot be shaken at all. He could only gather all his strength and launch the most violent and direct attack. The two of them fought hard. Uppercut. Ahat came out of the cave. Thunderbreak. Touch of Samsara. Crane neck kick. Relying on the advantage of first move and sharp attack skills, Lao Wang beat up Thanos, but it was useless. Even the Wanderer's friend didn't leave any wounds on the opponent's face. Only the Fist of the Heavens was sharper, leaving a few blood marks, barely breaking the defense, but that was it. Thanos is Thanos after all. Although this guy is a scientist by profession, his fighting skills are definitely the best in the universe. He is also the most powerful opponent Lao Wang has encountered so far. He quickly relied on his thick skin and strong strength, saw the opportunity to turn over, and beat Lao Wang with a set of military boxing to make him doubt his life. Sure enough, this guy's fighting skills are better than Captain America, his strength is stronger than the Curse Warrior, his defense ability is better than the Hulk, and his energy resistance is probably at the level of Captain Marvel. He is awesome in all aspects. The most feared is this kind of balanced player. In a wooden barrel, the shortest wood determines the capacity. Most superheroes or supervillains have weaknesses. As long as these weaknesses are targeted, they can be eaten to death. Scarlet Witch has super strong attack power, even Thanos can't stand it, but her defense is extremely weak. Quicksilver is now sub-light speed, or even light speed, but his attack power is not good, and his defense is also average. For those players with keen perception, as long as the reaction speed is fast enough, they can solve it with one move. If it doesn't work, they can use mental attacks. Quicksilver's mental will is not much stronger than that of ordinary people. The Hulk has invincible defense, invincible magic resistance, and extremely strong power, but a portal can exile him. Even Thor, who lost his hammer, is still a chicken, and can't even beat the Hulk. Does Thanos have any shortcomings? Yes. We must find a weakness, probably just a little bit slower in speed. He himself can't move fast or teleport, and now he hasn't got the Space Stone, so there's no way to make up for it. But Lao Wang can. Holding the Space Stone, he punched Thanos away. Looking at Thanos running back from dozens of kilometers away, Lao Wang confirmed again, the Power Stone can't hurt Captain Marvel, and the Space Stone, which is not suitable for fighting, Can't hurt Thanos either. Unless you get all the ancient knowledge, this thing is useless. Open a portal to kill Thanos. Not to mention that Thanos is likely to be able to resist. He is not a fool. He can avoid it at the first time, and it is not difficult to destroy him with direct energy attacks. Teleport him tens of thousands of light years away. It is also easy to avoid, and even if he teleports, it will be useless. Lao Wang really wants to kill this guy this time, not to drive him away. Putting away the space stone with disdain, Lao Wang concentrated his mind and gathered his energy. The essence of Titan flowed through his body, and he felt the pulse of the earth. The earth of this desolate planet is responding to his perception, and then responding in a very short time. The rock condensed into a giant hand that was bigger than 10 houses combined. It broke out from the depths of the ground and grabbed Thanos. Azedus's Earth Fury. You have activated Azedus's Earth Fury. Azedus controls the power of the earth. When you activate this ability, you will become the Earth Guardian, guide the power of the earth, and reshape the earth. 2 lines of text appeared on the attribute interface of the Heart of Azeroth. This is one of the newly activated functions of the Heart of Azeroth. As long as there is enough energy supply, Lao Wang has the power to control the earth. As long as he stands on the ground, he is a full-fledged Earth Guardian, no different from the Titan Guardian Arcadus and the Black Dragon King Miltharion. At most, his physical strength is slightly worse. Humph. Thanos is very confident in his strength and physique. In a fight, he never hides if he can, and it is more time-saving to fight head-on. He snorted coldly, letting the big hand grab him, and then suddenly exerted force and punched out. Boom. The giant rock hand that could crush the Quinjet into scrap metal was actually smashed by Thanos with one punch. This guy's indeed one of the strongest men in the universe, the kind that can even resist missiles with his eyelids. But this is not the end. 10 rock hands of the same size broke out of the ground and surrounded Thanos. Crude magic poor skills. Thanos still didn't care, punch after punch, smashing all the rock hands. 100 rock hands appeared again. Thanos, is it over? Is this the only trick this guy has? He stopped swinging his fists, stood in place, and shot out destructive plasma energy beams from his eyes, splitting into 100 parts, destroying all the rock hands, and then strode towards Lao Wang. Lao Wang sighed. Thanos, really awesome. Although Arcadus is a forger among the Titan Guardians, he is a non-combat unit at the scientist level. His defense is great, but his attack is not. However, he is still a Titan Guardian, a higher-level demigod, no worse than Ragnaros and Therazane. Converted to the standards of this world, he is at the sub-father level, roughly the same level as Thanos. After activating Azedus's Earth Fury, there is no difference between Lao Wang and Arcadus, but he can't abuse Thanos at all. This guy's definitely the closest to the father-level existence, the kind that can destroy most civilizations in the universe by himself. There is no other way, so I can only try new tricks. There is no need to use the functions of the other Titan Guardians. Arcadus can't beat Thanos. Thorim, Hody, Loki, and Tyr are all useless. I can only use the most powerful means. Suddenly, thunder and lightning struck in space, and all the lightning from nowhere condensed on Lao Wang's body. At this moment, Lao Wang is even more Thor than Thor, and is somewhat similar to the awakened version of Thor in Thor 3. No, even stronger. The Titan essence flowing through his body turned into special energy from the Pantheon's chief Titan Amanthor, giving Lao Wang the ability to control storms and lightning. At this moment, Lao Wang is no longer an ordinary Lao Wang, but a true Storm Guardian. The most powerful Great Guardian among all Titan Guardians. You activated Great Guardian Lao's Storm Guardian. You transformed into a Storm Guardian, and gained the supreme power to control storms and lightning. Note, when equipped with the Fist of Leden and the Shield of the Supreme Guardian, the effect of this function will be significantly enhanced. You are equipped with the Fist of the Heavens, and this ability is enhanced to a certain extent. Chapter 471 Odin's Thunder-Forged Spear, Part 3. Thor? Who is Thor? At this moment, Lao Wang is Thor, the real Thor. The whole sky is full of dense lightning, and various types of spells, accompanied by Lao Wang's will, attack Thanos. Lightning arrows, lightning chains, ball lightning, disintegration lightning, scattering lightning, static shock, thunder strike, lightning whip, electric energy release, thunder, Hundreds of different lightning spells, without exception, hit Thanos, leaving a series of scorch marks on his body. This cosmic butcher who almost has an immortal body was finally injured, and it was not light. He almost turned into an electric roasted purple potato. Is this all you can do? After all the trouble, you only have a few injuries? Thanos walked out step by step in the sky full of thunder prison. This level of attack did cause him a lot of damage, but it was mainly external injuries, and the impact was not great. What about this? Lao Wang walked on the lightning, came to the mid-air, and raised his left hand. Endless lightning condensed in his hand, turned into a spear, and flew towards Thanos. You have activated Odin's Thunder Forged Spear. You are gathering countless lightning bolts to form a Thunder Forged Spear that will hit once it is fired. Note, you can use a long-handled weapon as a carrier of the Thunder Forged Spear, which is more powerful, but may cause damage to the weapon. This is impossible. Even as strong as Thanos, he felt a palpitation at this moment. The energy contained in the spear made him panic. It was a threat of death. It has the power to severely injure, or even kill him. Without time to think, Thanos dodged immediately. A large amount of cosmic energy condensed in his body, and Thanos' speed increased to the limit. Although he does not have the superpower of sublight speed and light speed movement, with the increase of cosmic energy, he is definitely not worse than the original Quicksilver. Since leaving Titan, Thanos has never felt the limit of his speed. No enemy can make him dodge. Even the crazy woman not long ago, he still confronted head-on, and did not dodge once. Isn't your strength about the same as mine? Who is afraid of whom? But now, he must dodge, otherwise he will be severely injured. However, it's useless. The spear was extremely fast, and it could actually track. No matter how fast Thanos ran, it could chase him at a faster speed. I can't hide. Thanos stopped running. He gathered all the cosmic energy in his body in front of him, forming a dense energy shield to resist the spear. Boom. The spear hit Thanos. Two different energies caused an unprecedented violent explosion, even far exceeding the time when Thor struck the ether particle. In the endless thunder, a shockwave swept across the surface of the planet, flattening all protrusions. The entire surface of the planet seemed to have been cut by a giant sword, becoming as flat as a mirror, with only one difference. With Thanos as the center, a huge collapse area appeared on the ground, with a radius of more than 10 kilometers. In the middle was a deep well with a 45-degree tilt. Thanos was in the well, several kilometers underground. Boom. Thanos climbed out of the well, jumped up and landed heavily on the ground, with a fist-sized blood hole appearing on his chest. The Thunder Forged Spear pierced through the energy shield, and then pierced into his body, causing the most horrible trauma he had ever encountered in his life. Odin's Eternal Spear. Thanos was well informed, and found that the spear had the same characteristics as the Eternal Spear. As long as it was thrown, it would hit the target. The attack carried the power of endless lightning, the attack power of the father-in-law. Except that it had no entity, and was made of thunder and lightning. It was no different from Odin's Eternal Spear. No, there was still a difference. If it was really Odin's Eternal Spear, I'm afraid I would have lost half my life, and it's possible that I would die. I'm still alive now, just seriously injured. It's a blessing in disguise. A blessing? Thanos' eyes shrank suddenly. He saw that in the sky far away, the fat man's hands were condensing endless thunder and lightning, and the second Thunder Forged Spear was about to take shape. At this moment, Thanos was full of bitterness. Even if Odin left Asgard, he couldn't throw the Eternal Spear infinitely and launch a father-in-law level attack, because he only had so much energy. Although he could draw divine power from Asgard every second, the power was limited. Every time he used a big move, he had to charge for a period of time. What about the other side? Although the attack power is not as good as the real Eternal Spear, it does not need to be charged. Where does he get so much energy? He does not need to give orders. A tractor beam has been projected from dozens of kilometers away and landed on Thanos. Thanos breathed a sigh of relief. Looking down, the Thunder Forged Spear actually followed. %*% and amp. %. Thanos cursed in Titan language and saw beams of energy being fired from Sanctuary Second, but they had no way of hitting the Thunder Forged Spear. Just as he returned to Sanctuary Second, the Thunder Forged Spear hit his chest. The blood hole, which was originally only the size of a fist, instantly became as big as a casserole, almost shattering Thanos' internal organs. If he hadn't used cosmic energy to resist in time, his body would have been completely pierced, and his heart would have been chilled. Go. Thanos ordered while enduring the pain. The spaceship immediately activated the energy shield and invisible force field, started the warp engine, and prepared to fly at superluminal speed. Want to run? Lao Wang snorted, and endless lightning condensed in his hands, turning into the third thunder-forged spear. He leaned his body to the side and back, and with the perfect javelin thrower's posture, he thrust the thunder-forged spear out. The spear carrying the wrath of thunder instantly broke through the energy shield and invisible force field, inserted into Sanctuary Second, and disappeared with it. You're running away so fast. Lao Wang shook his head, and removed the Storm Guardian state, his heart bleeding. It was really bleeding. To activate the Titan Guardian function, only a few hundred kilograms of Azeroth's blood are needed, but after activation, every second of consumption makes him feel very distressed. It is typical that you can afford it, but cannot use it, especially when using the ultimate move. Or Thunder-forged spear requires hundreds of grams of Azeroth's blood. It is really unbearable to have it happen a few more times. Although Thanos was driven away and severely injured this time, and even Temple Second was damaged, he didn't get any spoils in the end. It was a big loss. I can only ask for the benefits from the guys. Teleporting back to Nidavellir, a huge figure hugged Lao Wang tightly, and he almost couldn't breathe. Director Wang, you saved the dwarves. The Dwarf King Aki said in a deep voice. From today on, you are the benefactor of the dwarves. As long as you need it, the dwarves are willing to create any artifact for you. That's more like it. Lao Wang broke free from Aki's arms, and took a few steps back with lingering fear. Thanos is seriously injured. He knows that I'm your ally, and can come to support you at any time. He will not come again. Chapter 472, The First Fleet, Demonstrating its Power in Space, Part 1. Upon hearing this, the dwarves next to him almost jumped up. They hugged each other to celebrate. The scene was really eye-catching. Lao Wang really wanted to cover his face and not look. Director Wang, your ability amazes me. Etri said with emotion. Even Thanos was defeated by you. Your name will be spread throughout the universe with this battle. Is that so? It's also a good thing. Thinking of the power of the Thunder-forged spear, Lao Wang looked at Etri and said, I just want to ask you, can you help me build an eternal spear? Odin's Thunder-forged spear needs a long-handled weapon to carry it to exert greater power. Lao Wang now has only one friend of the Wanderer. The conductivity of wood is definitely not as good as metal. What if it is destroyed? I will feel sad. Make a spear with vibranium. It's not impossible, but the effect is definitely not as good as Uru. After all, the Eternal Spear and Thor's hammer are made of that thing. Just make another one. Etri, theoretically, it's possible. The dwarves have built countless artifacts, and the Eternal Spear is definitely at the forefront. High-level artifacts are rare even in the entire universe, and it is very difficult to create. Even if it is built, it will not be as powerful as the Spear of Eternity. You have to be mentally prepared. Etri explained. After the Spear of Eternity was built, Odin personally cast a spell to connect it to Asgard, and it was baptized by the power of Asgard for thousands of years. It is many times stronger than when it was first built. Lao Wang nodded. This is understandable. A second processing of the father level existence. I can do this. Odin is a JJ, and eternal favor of Azeroth is the most awesome. He asked, are the materials enough? Yes. Etri said, over the years, we have accumulated a lot of materials. Not long ago, Odin ordered me to build a battle axe for Thor, a battle axe of the same level as the Spear of Eternity. He gave a lot of materials, and it can't be used up at all. Just enough to build a gun for you. Battle axe? Stormbreaker? Sure enough, Odin still loves his son. Knowing that Thor doesn't like guns, in order to ensure that Thor can hold his position after he succeeds to the throne, he specially commissioned the dwarves to create a high-level artifact of the same level as the Spear of Eternity. This level of artifact is very difficult to create, and I don't know if it has been completed. If it was someone else or a weapon, Lao Wang would have snatched it long ago, but not Stormbreaker. Thor is my good brother, Lao Wang. I can only love him, not cheat him. The preparations have been done, the material smelting has been completed, and the only thing left is casting. Etri said. Odin said that he must wait until Thor truly awakens, and come here in person, to complete the final casting. Otherwise he will not be able to control Stormbreaker. Without the resonance generated by his awakening energy, the power of Stormbreaker will also decrease, and cannot reach the level of a high level artifact. So you are not busy, you can forge the spear at any time? Lao Wang asked. Of course. Etri replied. Then hurry up, the sooner the better. Lao Wang activated the Heart of Azeroth. Let's talk slowly later, I have to go. In the azure light, Lao Wang disappeared. Space battlefield. Whoosh, whoosh whoosh whoosh. Boom. Boom. A divine stick stretched across space, with a thick energy shield and invisible force field wrapped around it. It was golden at both ends and red in the middle, just like the Monkey King's golden hoop stick. It was as handsome as it could be. Suddenly, the golden hoop stick burst into thousands of miles of light, and golden light emanated from the surface, hitting all the hostile units around it. A Chitauri single soldier combat aircraft was hit, and the energy core without any energy and force field defense measures was directly destroyed, turning into a ball of fire, lighting up a small area. The Chitauri pilot on it didn't even have time to scream. Ashes and smoke. Tens of thousands of single soldier combat aircraft were all destroyed. The brave and kind Chitauri people used their lives to light up the entire space, bringing light and heat to this dark world. The golden hoop stick was aimed at one end of the enemy camp, and after a brief condensation, it emitted a beam of strong light. A Krypton gold strike. The highly concentrated particle stream with a radius of more than 100 meters traveled through space at a speed close to the speed of light, accurately hitting the ring-shaped spaceship hiding behind a large number of Chitauri spaceships. The spaceship had already activated its energy shield and invisible force field, but it was useless. It could not stop this kind of free energy attack. It was like a layer of membrane that was broken with a poke, and red appeared in an instant. Fiery red. The fireball produced by the explosion had a radius of more than 100 kilometers, like the sun appearing among the stars, instantly surpassing tens of thousands of Chitauri single soldier combat aircraft, contributing the greatest power so far to the large-scale space fireworks scene. Go. Go. Inside the spaceship, Ebony Maw hurriedly pressed a button, and 7 complex metal rings rose one by one, covering him and the Black Dwarf, and teleported away before the explosion. The ring-shaped spaceship, which was destroyed by a small part, floated alone in the rear, and no one was watching. With a stunning blow, the golden light of the golden hoop dimmed a lot in an instant. Forced by Thanos to fight in person, the Chitauri leader saw the hope of victory, based on his years of space combat experience, and shouted, "Focus! Focus on that stick!" Hundreds of Chitauri ships turned their guns, and aimed at the Schengen. The main guns of the ships, which had just been upgraded, immediately fired energy beams that were 10 times more powerful than before, and hit the Schengen. The dim golden light suddenly became brighter than before, and it could consume all the energy used by the entire Earth for a year. Wukong's voice sounded, "The enemy has fallen into a trap, and the firepower has been completely attracted by the Schengen. According to calculations, the opponent's energy has been consumed by 30%, and the main guns of the ships need at least 1 minute to complete the energy storage. Now is the best time. Attack with all your strength." 30 modified ships fired at the same time, and the energy beams that were 10 times stronger than the Chitauri ships hit the opponent. Boom. Boom boom boom. One ship after another was destroyed, and the energy core exploded, turning into brilliant fireworks in space. This is impossible. The Chitauri leader punched his deputy in the face. So much energy. The enemy consumed so much energy. The entire Earth cannot provide so much energy. Did they install 10 sovereign energy batteries on each spacecraft? No, at least 100. The deputy got up from the ground, covered his face and said, "Leader, who dares to mess with those crazy people in Sovereign? They never sell their energy batteries. Even if you only steal one, as long as you are discovered, they will dare to start a civilization war. And the Earth is so backward that it is impossible to contact the advanced cosmic civilization like Sovereign. What's going on?" The leader was furious. The deputy thought that the leader was stupid and quickly replied, "They have the cosmic cube." Cosmic cube. The Chitauri leader understood instantly. Damn. Where are Ebony Maw and Lord Black Dwarf? We need support. Ah, they lost contact. The deputy replied. Lost contact. What happened? What should I do? Chief, Lord Thanos' order is to fully cooperate with the Dark Elves and not to retreat. The deputy was helpless. We have no other choice. The Chitauri leader shuddered. Fighting to the death might still make them alive. Disobeying the orders of Thanos' father would mean death, which might be worse than death. Suicidal attack. Use all your energy to maintain the energy shield and invisible force field and rush over and hit. Whether you hit them or not, as long as you get close to the 10-kilometer range, you will self-destruct. The Chitauri leader was furious. We still have more than 70 spaceships, and we don't believe we can't destroy them. Yes. The deputy did it quickly. In addition, urge the Dark Elves to attack quickly. We are here to cooperate with them, and they are the main force. The Chitauri leader roared. The deputy wanted to cry. Chief, the war has just started, and the Dark Elves have fled. Flee. The Chitauri leader's face froze, his whole body stagnated, and he looked at the opponent's first fleet of the godlike bureau viciously. I was abandoned by my leader, and betrayed by my allies. Now you dare to launch a general attack on me? You are courting death. Everyone. The Chitauri leader gritted his teeth, grabbed his deputy's shoulders and shouted, "You, drive this flagship immediately, and take me away." Chapter 473, The Tragic Malekith, Part 2. Looking at the world in front of him, Malekith was stunned. How did I suddenly get here? In front of him was a prosperous city with tall buildings everywhere. Could this be Midgard? Midgard, which was poor, backward, and still in the slave society, has now developed to the late stage of surface civilization. It's so fast. If Midgard is given another 1,000 years, it will probably surpass the Dark Elves, right? Unfortunately, you don't have a chance. What happened just now? Malekith asked. I was just about to join the war. Why did I suddenly come here? It's a time and space anomaly. A Dark Elf technician quickly replied. As the 9 realms converge closer and closer, the time and space of the entire world tree becomes more and more chaotic, and the time and space anomalies are getting bigger and bigger. Just now we happened to encounter a super large time and space anomaly, which sent us here. Malekith's face lit up. This is really great. Let the bastards under Thanos deal with the enemy fleet. Midgard is mine. Where is this place? How far is it from the center of the 9 realms? He asked. Well, this is the other side of Midgard. According to intelligence, it is one of Midgard's most prosperous cities, New York, which is about 6,000 kilometers away from London, the center of the 9 realms. The technician answered quickly. A few hours ago, they captured a Midgardian who passed through the time and space anomaly in Svartheim, scanned his memory, and obtained a lot of information. It didn't seem important at the time, but it came in handy now. Do you want to go to the time and space anomaly immediately? The technician asked. This city has a population of 8 million. If all of them are wiped out, it will definitely make Midgard's most powerful country unable to support London. Malekith ordered, destroy it. The technician hurriedly pressed dozens of buttons. A large number of small spaceships separated and began to shoot and drop bombs at the entire city. The mothership ignored all this and immediately flew towards London. Suddenly, a flash of lightning appeared in the sky and accurately hit a small spaceship. The spaceship was directly destroyed and fell. It was about to land, but it disappeared in the blink of an eye. What happened? Leader, something happened. The technician operated his hands quickly, and a picture appeared on the screen. A silver-haired man, holding a disheveled old man, appeared on the top of a building one day. The old man held a strange device in his hand, which looked like a pole. He operated it fiercely, and then another spaceship disappeared. What was going on? Leader, the device in his hand can affect the anomaly points of time and space. The technician said, there are many anomalies of time and space in this city. He plans to change the location of the anomaly points of time and space and send our anti-small spaceship to an unknown place. An unknown place. If the small spaceship can be sent away, can it be? As soon as this thought came up, Malekith saw the scene in front of him change again, and it was a series of energy beams. He and his mothership returned to the space battlefield just now, and appeared in the middle of the battle between the two sides, and at the same time, suffered attacks from both sides. This, too much. Go. Malekith almost went crazy. In just a moment, the mothership was almost completely scrapped. We can't leave. The technician said helplessly. The spacecraft's power system is damaged, the energy core is about to be damaged, and the hyperdrive engine is damaged. What else is intact? We are still intact. The technician replied. Malekith felt so relieved. We are still intact. What a good answer. He slapped the technician to death with a slap, and then shouted to another subordinate, call everyone here immediately. There were not many dark elves left, and they were quickly called here. Malekith activated the ether particles, closed his eyes and sensed, and soon found the nearest space-time anomaly. That's it. He said, everyone take a small spaceship, and fly over there. How many people can survive depends on you. The dark elves were still very united and listened to the leader's arrangements. No one who survived until now was afraid of death, and they hurriedly did as they were told. In the dense energy attack, small spaceships were destroyed one by one, but there were still a few that crossed the line of fire and successfully entered the space-time anomaly. New York. A series of lightning strikes destroyed the remaining dark elf small spaceships, and Thor fell from the sky and landed next to Quicksilver and Dr. Eric. Thor? Quicksilver's eyes lit up. Wait for me. He disappeared in an instant and returned in less than 2 seconds, holding a mobile phone in his hand. Come on, smile, take a photo. Zizzy, the phone was scrapped. Looking at the lightning that had not completely disappeared from Thor's body, Quicksilver felt distressed. The latest banana P30, it's almost $2,000. Don't make a fuss. Thor looked at Dr. Eric. Doctor, where did those spaceships go? I don't know. Dr. Eric said without looking back. Time is too tight. There is no time to accurately locate. Just randomly create a time and space anomaly point. Who knows where it went? Thor. Doctor, you are very irresponsible to do this. I'm going to chase that mothership. He asked. Doctor, do you have any solution? I really don't have any. Dr. Eric said, do you want a time-space anomaly? I can get you one, free of charge. But I can't guarantee whether it will go to Asgard, Svartalfheim, or somewhere else. No. Thor was feeling depressed when Eric suddenly said, hey, Eve said that several black spaceships appeared over London. Thor's eyes lit up. London? How can I get there? Flying is fine, but it's too slow. Is there any faster way? I'll take you there. Quicksilver came up to Thor and grabbed his arm. Let's go. 10 seconds later. How can you be so fast? Looking at the city on the other side of the earth, Thor was surprised. Sublight speed movement? Excluding the acceleration and deceleration stages, the process in between is indeed at the sublight speed level, many times faster than swinging the hammer to fly. It's the Space Stone. Quicksilver was only halfway through his words when Thor swung his hammer and flew towards the nearest small dark elf spaceship. Really impatient. He ran again and went back to find Dr. Eric. Boom. Boom boom boom. Lightning bolts hit the small spaceship accurately. As for whether the spaceship would be damaged and crashed, and whether it would cause the death of a large number of citizens, this was not something Thor could consider. After all, with his brain capacity, he really couldn't think too much. There is only one left. Thor flew over quickly and started fighting. A thick lightning bolt hit the spaceship, but was blocked by some black substance. Then, the black substance flew over and knocked Thor away. What a terrible energy. Thor stabilized his body in midair and looked at the spaceship. The hatch opened and Malekith floated out with black matter wrapped around his body. Chapter 474. Gather. Third update. Thor's eyes were red as he looked at Malekith. He had never hated a person as much as he did now. Malekith actually killed his mother. If it weren't for Director Wang, his mother would have really died. Thinking of this, Thor's heart was filled with anger. Malekith, die. He raised his hammer and roared, I will kill you, and avenge my mother. The anger of the god of hammer is still very scary. It is said that the higher the anger value of the Hulk, the stronger his strength. In fact, Thor is similar. Once he gets angry, his combat power will explode. This is probably a talent. It can't be compared. Thunder and lightning roared in the sky, and Thor smashed towards Malekith with a hammer. The angry hammer drew lightning traces in the sky and came to Malekith in a blink of an eye. Then he saw Malekith waved his hand. Thor's hammer flew backwards. Thor was stunned. It's okay for the Doomslayer to smash Thor's hammer with one hand. After all, that guy has 4 of his own strength. How could this rubbish in front of him, who looked so weak, Malekith, be so strong? Could it be that ether? Malekith fell to the ground and looked at Thor in front of him with a cold and mocking face. Why run so far, Asgardian? Death will soon come to your kingdom. If you wait silently, you can live a few more hours. It will be you who will die. Thor landed and walked towards Malekith step by step. I will kill you and then reseal the ether. The entire Dark Elves will be exterminated, and this time no one will be left. The bright universe should not exist in the first place, and darkness is the destination of everything. Since the Big Bang, its fate has been determined, and I'm the messenger of fate, the king of darkness. Malekith said, your kingdom, your family, yourself, everything you have, will be swallowed up by darkness. Then let's see who will destroy whom. Thor swung his hammer and rushed towards Malekith. He jumped high and delivered a fatal blow. Boom. An arm blocked Thor's hammer. Then he exerted force suddenly, smashing Thor and the hammer together. Thor flew backwards and smashed through a wall. He climbed up and saw a bull-headed warrior in black armor appeared in front of Malekith, emitting a frightening energy fluctuation. Cursed warrior. Didn't that guy get killed by Director Wang? How come there are still cursed warriors? Thor was shocked and angry. More than one. Malekith sneered, and more cursed warriors appeared behind him, and soon there were more than a dozen. Thor looked around. There were many more cursed warriors coming from all directions. There were hundreds of them, but half of them were left in space. The other half of the spacecraft arrived in London and was shot down by Thor, but they did not die. Instead, they climbed up and then heard Malekith's call and gathered here. They cleared all obstacles along the way and killed countless civilians and policemen. Human conventional weapons could not cause any harm to them at all. They were invincible. Thor swallowed his saliva and felt so bitter. One cursed warrior was stronger than himself, and there were dozens of them here. How to fight? Your death is coming. Malekith ordered. Kill him. Dozens of cursed warriors rushed towards Thor. Malekith looked up. 4 balls of light appeared in the sky. Among them were ice, flames, earth, and mountains. Those were 4 of the 9 realms. The other 4 appeared on the other side of the earth. They were about to overlap. The 9 realms convergence will begin in 10 minutes. It's time to get ready. Malekith raised his hands and the energy of the ether particles was fully released. The red ether particles surrounded his body, forming a tornado storm, which continued to rise and swept towards the 4 worlds above. Darkness is about to swallow up the 9 worlds. Looking at the rapidly approaching cursed warriors, Thor fell into deep thought. How to fight the cursed warriors? This is a problem. Flying up to the sky to summon lightning attacks? It's completely meaningless, and it can't even break the defense. The most powerful means of attack is Thor's hammer itself. But Thor's hammer has been tried before, and it can't hurt the cursed warriors. It can be blown away with a slap. At this moment, Thor felt unprecedented frustration. In front of the cursed warriors, all his glory became nothingness, and it seemed that what flowed in his veins was not lightning, but boiled water. Until he saw a ray of light. It was a silver light, and it came to Thor's side in an instant. It was Quicksilver. He was not alone. There was a woman next to him. Sky? Thor recognized her at a glance. Thinking of her performance in New Mexico, it didn't seem so eye-catching, and hurriedly shouted, "That person! Take her away quickly, it's dangerous here." Before he finished speaking, he stopped abruptly. Sky raised his hands, and an invisible but perceptible shockwave knocked the 2 cursed warriors in the front away, and flew directly 10 kilometers away. Sky adjusted the direction and attacked continuously. In less than a minute, all the cursed warriors were completely cleared. Not a single one was left. Thor, my brother's woman, it's amazing. Although the attack power is not very good, it can't hurt the cursed warriors who are protected by the other particle fragments, but the effect is still good. At least it can knock them away and clear the field, unlike himself, who can only fight hard against the cursed warriors. Leave this to me, Sky said. You go deal with Malekith. Thor hesitated. Can you deal with so many cursed warriors? I'm not well educated. Don't lie to me. I can sense the damage that the shockwave has done to your body. Although it has been weakened by 99% by the special arm guard, the remaining damage is also terrible. You won't be able to use such a shockwave many times. I'm not alone, Sky said. I have the God Bureau behind me, and I'm the god of the conferred god. Remember, Thor, my name is Petro. Quicksilver disappeared in a silver light and reappeared 10 seconds later, bringing another guy. It was a woman in a tight red uniform. She had slender vibranium swords in both hands. She looked very thin, but she had terrifying power in her body. Wisps of black hair entangled his body. Looking at the woman, Thor seemed to see a prehistoric behemoth. Black Sky Erica. An orange portal appeared, and Scarlet Witch Wanda walked out. Next to it was a dimensional gate burning with hellfire, and Ghost Rider Robbie came in chains. The space fluctuated, and a half-human high dog appeared, with Black Bolt next to him, who kept his mouth shut. Most of the members of the gods assemble. Where's Hulk? Sky asked. Eve's charming voice sounded. The Hulk chased a flaming dragon and went to Muspelheim. The Avengers are fighting in New York, and Captain Rogers asked if they need help. Hulk is not here? Forget it. There are so many people here. It's almost enough. Sky said. Petro, you go pick up the Avengers. Everyone else, destroy these cursed warriors. Seeing this scene, Thor was so shocked that he could hardly speak. Anyone here seems to be no worse than himself. Since when has the earth become so powerful, with so many godlike figures? Is this still a back garden that needs Asgard to protect? Asgard, I'm afraid it still needs the protection of the earth. Without thinking anymore, Thor swung the hammer and flew towards Malekith. Chapter 475 Whoever opposes you will be beaten. Armor. Part 1. Everyone's performance was very eye-catching. Sky's shockwave had not yet reached its peak level, and even if it did, it would probably not hurt the curse warriors. They were protected by other particles, and would not die as long as the time was not up. This was a bug. She was a perfect auxiliary position. The curse warriors who were not good at energy attacks and long-range attacks were living targets in front of her. She could make them move wherever she wanted them to move. They were as well behaved as they could be, and she was truly a field controller. Black Sky Erica's performance was only average. She couldn't even beat a curse battle in a head-on confrontation. The power of the beast had not been fully digested, and even if it was fully digested, it would be just that. The curse warriors were immune to any form of mental attacks, and their strength and defense were completely inferior to the opponent, so they could only fight with skills. The performances of others were quite awesome. Scarlet Witch Wanda had an invincible attack power. The Scarlet Chaos magic hit the body of the curse warrior, which could destroy the power of the mind gem. Naturally, she would not take the other particle fragments seriously, and directly stripped the armor of the curse warrior, causing the body to disintegrate. She was the MVP of the whole game. Basically, once she is staring at the cursed warrior, he will have no power to fight back, and will surely die. In terms of attack power alone, Wanda is probably more powerful than Lao Wang, Odin, and Ancient One, a bug among bugs. Ghost Rider Robbie's strength in all aspects is relatively balanced. He tied up the cursed warrior with chains, and then it was a fight to the death. The fire of hell is not higher than the other particles. The Eye of Judgment is ineffective against the cursed warrior, but the immortality of Ghost Rider makes him attack suicidal without scruples, and every time he attacks, he is desperate. The cursed warrior smashed his body again and again, and then resurrected again and again. If he can't kill you, can't he annoy you to death? Black Bolt's ability is at least similar to Shockwave Girl Sky in terms of expression. Of course, many years of training have made him stronger, and every time he opens his mouth, he can cause great trouble to the cursed warrior. 5 Earth God level superheroes cooperate with each other. Ghost Rider is mount, Shockwave Girl is control, Black Sky is close combat, Black Bolt is long range, and Scarlet Witch is responsible for point killing. Except for the lack of big breasts, it is simply a 5-man team dedicated to clearing small monsters. This configuration is used to deal with those guys who have just become curse warriors, are not familiar with this power, and have a relatively simple fighting style. After all, they are heroes, and the curse warriors are just super soldiers of more than 100 levels. They look scary, but they are not that difficult to deal with. Silver light shuttled across the entire Earth. Quicksilver brought the Avengers here one after another. Captain America, Hawkeye, Black Widow, Iron Man. Compared with the gods, the Avengers alliance responsible for protecting the Earth seems too shabby. In terms of strength, Captain America is at most the 3rd line, Hawkeye and Black Widow are the 4th line, and only Iron Man can show off. Fortunately, they are experienced in combat, cooperate well with each other, and with various high-tech weapons, they can barely stop the footsteps of the curse warriors if they are just fighting. Iron Man, who has always been a show-off, will naturally not give up such a good opportunity to show off. Jarvis, are you ready? Tony asked. Sir, have you thought it through? Your actions may cause public outrage, and the consequences are serious. Jarvis replied, unable to bear to see his master being torn into pieces, so he came down to accompany him. My armor has the final say, fire. Tony hesitated for a second, then regained his former confidence. Public outrage. Consequences? Are those what I should consider? The completely restored top floor of Stark Tower. One by one, the Iron Man suits flew out from the reserve channel, and flew towards London at a speed of 50 times the speed of sound. In less than 10 minutes, it flew from New York to London. More than 50 Iron Man suits filled the sky. For a moment, everyone fell into a daze. That thing, why does it look so much like me? Black Bolt stared at the anti-Black Bolt armor, as if he saw a second self. The same black uniform, the same explosive muscles, and the strange fork-shaped antenna on the top of the head, which seemed to be used to stabilize and concentrate electromagnetic waves. Can that thing really emit electromagnetic waves like himself? Mr. Stark is playing with fire. Ghost Rider Robbie looked at another anti-Ghost Rider armor that was on fire, and had the urge to beat him up. The skull, the alloy chains, and the flying ability. I don't know how the flame effect was made, but it looks even better than his own. Of course, whether it can be beaten or not is another matter. He is not playing with fire, he is playing with lightning. Thor looked at the anti-Thor armor that was destroyed before, repaired and upgraded. For a moment, he really wanted to give up Malekith, and beat Tony to death first. He is not playing with anything, he is playing with his own life. Sky looked at the anti-Hulk armor that rushed towards a cursed warrior, thinking that fortunately Hulk was not there, otherwise the civil war of superheroes would begin. She looked around, she didn't see the anti-Sky armor or the anti-Wanda armor. Tony finally had some sense, and didn't really seek death, otherwise no one could save him. But what about the anti-King armor? Are you really not afraid that the old king will remove you? Captain America took a look at the anti-Captain America armor and shook his head helplessly, thinking whether he should find an opportunity to beat Tony up one day, dragging Bucky along, secretly. Black Widow and Hawkeye completely ignored the armor that was against them, because other armors will be beaten by whoever they are against, but they really can't beat the armor that is against them. Although it's a bit of a bad taste, the combat effectiveness of these armors is still quite good. No matter who they are against, these armors are the latest models with similar performance. Various artillery fires can contain them. Although they can't kill the cursed warriors, they can make them exhausted. The real battlefield is not here. It's on the other side. Asgard. The golden sky was gradually swallowed by darkness, and Frigga's face was full of worry. Odin, are you really not going to take action? Don't worry, Frigga. Odin's eyes were shining with gold, and he had been paying attention to the battlefield on Earth. If the Ancient One didn't take action, I wouldn't take action. I believe in my son, he will be able to stop Malekith. Thor? Frigga was a little worried. His potential is greater than yours, Odin. He has obtained the power of Yuanjaya, the mother goddess of the earth. But he has not fully awakened yet. I'm a little worried there's nothing to worry about. Odin said, Thor may not be able to stop Malekith, but that person can definitely. That person? Thinking of the man who was good at creating miracles, Frigga frowned. But, where did he go? End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.